All right, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Somebody's having a good afternoon. All right, one more time. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right. We're going to go shopping. And what I mean by that, I just heard this concept. I keynoted in Virginia a couple of weeks ago, and I sat in one of the sessions, and the gentleman was talking similar to marketing stuff, but he talked about this, and I thought it was a great concept. Tie this together. You know, when you go, imagine going grocery shopping, and not the way I go grocery shopping. When I go grocery shopping, I'm in and out in 10 minutes. If I go with my wife, we're going to spend an hour and a half kind of thing, right? But you know, you go in there and you pull something off the shelf and you look at it, and what do? You've got a couple options, right? Pull it off the shelf. What are the two options that come to mind that we can do with that? That's right. We can put it in the cart if we want it, or we can put it back on the shelf, right? Some of these things that I talk about today are going to be, oh yeah, I already know, I've heard of that. Yeah, this is not new, Mike. Okay, I get that. So take that, you hear it, okay, let's just throw that back up on the shelf. Other things, you say, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to throw that into my cart. And then there'll be some things that, you know, kind of like the foot stomping, like throw that into your cart. These are things that I know are going to help you. And I know that you're going to go through here and you're going to see some of this stuff and say, we already do that. Well, one of the things that our company does is mystery shopping. Anybody ever been mystery shopping in this industry? Yeah. And we are exclusive to the senior living industry. And we've got thousands and thousands of shops. And anytime, and I don't mean this to sound bad, but anytime you feel like that you want to contest that, I always throw a challenge out there. I am happy to give you a complimentary shop. Okay, so if you say, no, Mike, I do that. I know I do that. I will give you a complimentary shop, but if you don't do what you say that you did, you have to pay for it. So pretty fair. It's almost kind of like a wager. The reason why I say this is because a lot of times we say we do things, but we really don't. And sometimes you don't even know it until you hear it, and you listen to yourself on the phone. For me, I had to make this conscious effort to smile. Sometimes you'll see this kind of awkward smile coming across my face because somebody told me a few years ago, Mike, when you're up on stage, you look like you want to kick somebody's butt. You got to smile more. And I thought, no way. I feel like see, like right now, I feel like I'm smiling. Right? I do. I feel like I'm smiling. But I don't think I am smiling, right? Yeah. No, you're not smiling. Now I'm smiling, right? There's the smile. So, and then I saw myself on video like, oh my God, I look like I want to kick somebody's butt. But I had to see it for myself. Same thing when you hear the shop. And those who have been mystery shop, you know it's a powerful, powerful tool. So we're going to go shopping. What adjectives do you think of, to the outside world? What do they think about us salespeople? Or what do we think? Let's just throw ourselves kind of backwards and say we're not really in the sales profession. We're consultants. We're lifestyle consultants, or we're marketing coordinators, or we're this, right? Let's just step out of that. But when you think of sales, or you think, hey, the outside world that's not, what do they think of sales? What are adjectives that come into mind? Annoying, pushy. What's that? Obnoxious. Aggressive. Yeah. Exaggerate. You guys, I love this. You guys are loaded, right? I think of, and no offense to anybody, I think of the used car salesman, right? I think of, in Phoenix, we get a lot of commercials, and this one guy was doing a roofing commercial a few years ago, and he never took his sunglasses off on a TV commercial. I'm thinking, dude, you lost me. I'm never going to buy from you. I can't even see your eyes. I don't trust you. But exactly, that's what people are thinking, and I think that's why most of the time when we say, hey, we're not in the selling world, but we have that other little fancy title that we've got for ourselves. How do we want to be defined? When we say, yeah, I'm in sales. This is what is that? Trustworthy. Caring. Need fulfiller. Sincere. Knowledgeable. Compassionate. Advocate. This is good. Yeah, we could probably make a list of a few more. Exactly. Here's my definition. It's a person who uses personal integrity to help. All right, notice I got that line under there, help. All right, because we don't want people to give us solutions. We want to help them. All right, people don't want to be given solutions, but we want to help them come up with those solutions and identify their own needs in those solutions, right? People want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. We did a lost lead study, and we did about 500 prospects. Anybody have independent living in here? I'm just curious. Got a few? Most are probably assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, that kind of stuff. So imagine this study on steroids, because this was independent living. So we had 500 prospects. We had to call a bunch more to get 500 people, but we had 500 prospects. This is what we found out. 80% of deals are lost over the phone. What do you think about that? Yeah, when I started thinking, when I saw that number and we started doing the count, like, wow, that's kind of scary. The fact that we're losing 80% of our deals over the phone. Here's why. Let's just take a place like Columbus. Now, I'm not sure what the population of Columbus and how many senior living communities we have here, but let's just say, there's a whole multitude of them. It's a bigger city. What will happen is these residents or prospects, family members, first of all, they're going to go online. And if you don't think they're going online and you don't, it's IL, a lot of them are going online. I heard a statistic about 3 years ago that 62% of the IL resident, the actual resident, actually went online to find out information first. And then now think about these other care levels we're working. Who's normally looking for them? The family member, right? And most of them are going online. So they're going online, they're getting all this information, and then they're picking up the phone and they're actually calling. They're calling 8 to 10 different communities to get this information. How many do you think they're actually going to go visit? Or 1, 2, 3. Can I get a 4? 4. Can I get a 5? Good. It's typically 2 to 3 communities. So when they get off of that phone with your community, they're not looking for a reason to come see you. They're looking for a reason not to come see you. They've got a list here, and they got to shorten that list. So they're trying to figure out, how are you getting shortlisted? Am I getting shortlisted? So that's the reason. So you get 10 people, they're going to go visit 2 to 3. They're going to go visit your community or somebody else. Now, we dug a little bit deeper. We started asking more questions. 80% of prospects are moving into a senior living community. Now, this is scary because if you go look at your CRM and you start doing these inquiries and these closing ratios, you're like, if 80% are going somewhere, where are they going? Here was the breakdown. 1 to 3 months, 45%.
Now, this is based on IL.
That's based on IL. This is based on IL. AL, skilled nursing, memory care, those are all needs-based, right? Normally when they come in, it's like, hey, we got to get in the door, we got to get in pretty quick. These guys, you have a lot of looky-loos, at least they appear to be looky-loos. So take this number, it's probably even higher. Didn't do AL, we did it at the IL level. In the first year, 35%, and within 1 to 2 years, you got 20% of them moving in. Those are pretty staggering numbers. So when people come up to me and I'm working with salespeople, like, no, Mike, this is what's going on, they're not moving in, I beg to differ. So why do people choose where they live? What are some reasons? When they come to your community, what's one of the reasons? Or if they go to some other community, what is the reason? Cost, location. Amenities. Customer service. Huh? Safety, security. Cleanliness. Here, let me throw some up there, right? We hear this a lot. Well, they're close to the family member. Are they close to where I already live? Church, right? Church, big thing. Here's the problem with that. They're making decisions based on logic. And we're actually selling to the logic. People buy on emotions, but they back it up with fact and logic. But yet what we do is we sell to the logic. We sell to the logic side instead of getting down to the emotions. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. What's the most common objections that we hear? Cost. Sell their house. Yeah. Location. Here's a few. We got that, especially in the IL. I'm just looking. I'm only 70. I'm only 75. I'm too young to live here, right? Those in the IL, they're 75, too young to live there. And we asked, we said, okay, that's the objection that you gave. Was that really your honest and true objection why you decided not to live there? You see that number? 5%. Yes, for the price, selling the home 10%, not ready 5%. So all the other ones were false. So now see, this is tough. This is why it took us being a third party. As a community, you can't do that. They think, oh, you're trying to sell and you can manipulate this thing. So we, why? Why do you give a dishonest answer or dishonest objection? And for the most part, people are nice, right? They don't want to be rude. They don't want to say, no, this place sucks. I don't think any place sucks, but some places are better than the others. Bless you. they want to be nice about it. They feel like they're rejecting you, and sometimes they are rejecting you. Sometimes it's the product. But they just want to be nice about it. So same thing like if we go shopping. Can we help? Somebody says, "Can I help you with something?" Especially those guys, right? We're going looking for a shirt or a pair of slacks, and somebody walks up retail. "Can I help you with something?" What do we say? "I'm just looking." "No, thanks. I'm just looking." "All right, let us know if you need anything," right? "Okay, no, we're good." Same thing. I know when I go in, I'm buying. If I go into a store, I'm buying something. If I go into a car dealership, I'm buying a car. I buy a car that day. When I go in to get something, I'm buying. Now, I know there's a lot of people do research. I'm not one of those guys. I don't want to spend my time, doing all this other research and all this stuff. But I am actually buying something. But no, I'm not interested. No.
We don't window shop.
No window shop. Most guys don't. My son does. That's okay. It's cool. If you're one of those that do. But so here we go. I'm gonna need a little bit more participation. You don't have to do this one, like, "Oh yeah, this is where I think I am." We can kind of yell this out. Normally, as in trading, I do this as a group. But here's what I want. I want to think, how good do you think you are in these skills here? All right, where 3 is great, 1 is okay. And we're going to go through, and you guys just shoot out numbers. Like, yeah, okay, I think I'm okay, I'm a 2. Like, I'm great at this, I'm a 3, and not so good, I'm a 1. All right, so building rapport. You guys just start shooting out something. On the telephone, how good do you think you are in building rapport in the first part of that phone conversation? 2, 3. Come on, folks. Come on, work with me here. All right, if you guys don't participate, it's going to drag out even longer. I won't be done by 5. I just won't. You'll have to just walk out and leave. So 2, 3, what else? 1, I got 1. All right, we'll get to this first one, okay? So some people, they think, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How about questioning, asking open-ended questions? 2. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. 2s, I got some people, yeah. 1s, okay. Most people think they're around the 2, okay? Or the majority 2s. How about listening?
3. Okay.
I got the 80-20 rule, 50-50. We got some that are saying 3, they're great listeners. 2, 3. Nobody's put themselves in the 1. Where's the honest person? I love the honest people. Thank you. Most people think they're around that 2. Managed presentation. And what I mean by that is it's a customized, I heard your needs, now I'm presenting based on those needs. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1. Okay, good. All right. A lot of people think, oh, they're 3. All right. Actually, I think you're really good at doing presentation. Asking for the close? 2, 3, 2. 1. I heard a 1. Good. God, thank you for the honesty, folks. Thank you. Most people think they're around the 2. Overcoming objections. 1, 2. Heard mostly 2s. 1. Actually, there you go. Now, what I'm about to show you is based on just me going through and listening to shop after shop after shop on the phone, actually being down, coaching at the community levels, and listening to real phone calls. All right, anybody have Emeritus property? Anybody from Emeritus here? We're the ones that shop, you guys. But at one time, and I don't know if it's like this anymore, but at one time they recorded every incoming call. And what we did is I went to Emeritus and said, hey, we want to make sure our mystery shoppers are trying the best that they can. Can we get some of these shops and have access so we can listen to these real sales calls? And they sound just like our shoppers. But these are the results that we found. Building rapport, 1. This is where we're at. On the telephone, we are doing a very, very, very poor job in the beginning of the process and building rapport. And I'm going to explain why it's important to do in the very beginning. I'm waiting for some of you guys just to walk out and say, forget you, Mike, I'm out of here. Take your butt back to Arizona. We're from Ohio, Midwest. We don't need you. Go. Open-ended questions, 1. Listening, 1. Managed presentation, 1. Asking for the close, a little bit better. Overcome objections, a little bit higher. You guys are actually better at overcome objections than you really think you are, because first thing, I said you gave a great presentation because you know your product. So when they throw these, and most of them are common objections, when they throw them, you know how to overcome them. So that's where this is based on phone shops. I don't know if I've done any of your phone shops, if our company has or not. But this is what we found. Now, this is where I challenge you. If you're different, let's talk about these. I am looking for those people that are selling differently. And this is why we lose 80% of our deals on the phone. If I was to pull up my database right now and just let each of you just randomly go through and select one, we did about 10 of them, and we listened to them, after about the second or third one, you guys shut it off, Mike. We've heard it. They all start sounding the same. We're all kind of selling the exactly same way. We're going to, just for the purpose of time, we're going to skip through, but this is kind of how it looks. I don't know if you have it in your notes or not. No? This is kind of how it looks for the in-person. And if you're trying to take notes, trying to capture all this stuff, I'll be happy to send you this presentation or pieces of it if you want it, if I go too fast. But I had a question.
Is that the data that you compiled, or is that what the folks that were actually answering the phone told you that's how they felt the call went?
The folks that were actually making the call was, well, this right here, this is not the lost lead study. This is part of just a rating scale that I put together based on the shops that I've heard. From a selling perspective, this is what this came from. The previous slides were from the lost lead study. All right, here's we haven't even got into this yet. Here's the thing. You're going to learn new concepts. Whether you learn new concepts here or no matter where you're at in your life, you have to stretch your comfort zone. I dedicate a whole chapter of my book to stretching the comfort zone. Because if you want to get from here to here, you got to do things different than what you're used to doing. And guess what? It's not comfortable doing those kind of things. Most of us live down here in our comfort zone in the green area. Then you got these things out here like, oh, let me think about that one. I get a little queasy. And then you get those up here like, no way, and bleep, 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 bleep up there that I'm doing that. Skydiving, right? Some people like, no way. That's way outside the comfort zone. Public speaking. I've met people that after two, if there's more than two people in the room, forget it. They're not standing up. They're not getting in front of anybody. But you have to stretch. And here's what I've found, people that I've talked to, and even especially in my own life, is that if you stretch yourself on a personal level, it kind of transfers over to the professional level. And if you stretch your comforts on the professional level, it kind of transfers over to the personal level. And I'll give you an example. This is where we're at. 95% of us live in our comfort zone. We're risk adverse. I tell my wife all the time, and we're going to have to edit this one out, Nathan, because I don't want her to hear this. I tell her all the time. I said, you know what? I said, I can't believe that you and a lot of your family run your life and live your life based on fear, that you don't do things because you're scared of doing something and you're scared of the risk and all that. I said, step out a little bit. And she's like, I'm okay. It's okay. I don't have to go do all that crazy stuff like you do. And I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I've had 11 knee surgeries. I just had my knee replaced 4 years ago at 37 years old. And that's because, well, my wife would tell you, I say I'm an adrenaline junkie. She says I haven't grown up. You take your choice. I probably haven't grown up, all right? But I like adrenaline. But you got to stretch yourself. But she's okay. And if you're that person in this room, you're like, hey, I'm okay where I'm at. Then I'm like, awesome. It's okay. I'm not saying that you should look bad and default yourself because of that. I'm saying if you want to get up to the next level, you want to take yourself to the next level, you got to stretch. Ever seen the ripstick? Yeah. Let me tell you a story about the ripstick. Has anybody not seen one of these? Yeah, okay, so I'll just explain for those who haven't. You see there's like two wheels there? And they're in the front and they swivel. So it's kind of like a skateboard. But those wheels kind of swivel, they do 360. And the middle section there where it looks like springs, that actually rotates. So once you get up on the ripstick, you can just kind of maneuver. You getting this, Nathan? Because this is a good move here. You just maneuver your hips like this. All right, that's how I kind of learned some dance moves. You guys see me on the dance floor? This is it, on the ripstick. Get a ripstick. You want to learn how to dance? Get a ripstick. But that's how you maneuver yourself. So you can be going straight, and all of a sudden you can be going backwards and then turning yourself, and it's all, you never put your foot down like on a skateboard. Now, I'm in my second marriage. I've got stepsons. Any step parents in here? That's got to be one of the toughest jobs in the world, man. You want to be cool, especially the guy. You know, like, hey, Mike, you want to be that cool person. You want to develop that relationship. So Michael, he's now 17, but about 5 years ago, he brings home a ripstick. I'm out there watching this thing. Man, that's pretty cool. I grew up on a skateboard. I was riding a skateboard at 3 years old. I love skateboards. So he's out there riding that thing. I'm like, man, that is vicious. Look at that thing. That is so cool. And he looks at me and goes, hey, Mike, you want to try it? Everything within me, everything was saying, no, 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 no. I thought I was saying out loud, but he was still waiting for an answer. And I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. I'm thinking, hey, I'll get some cool points. Yeah. And I got my phone in my pocket. I got my watch. I get the hardest thing is mounting this thing for real, getting it going because it sits like this, and you got to get it so it's like this and get your stuff moving and all that. Well, yeah, I busted about 2 or 3 times, and I jammed my wrist, and I broke my cell phone and my watch, but I finally got up on this ripstick. I rode off into the sunset. But it's one of those things where he's like, dude, he thought it was so cool. I don't know. I've got a great relationship with him now. I mean, a fantastic. I don't know if that's one of those things that kind of got there, but that was me stretching my comfort zone. Yeah, I get on the ripstick. Now when his friends come over, he's like, Mike, show him how you ride the ripstick. I'm like, all right, let's get on this sucker, right? And I take off. In some of my boot camps, I've actually brought it in and actually done it because people didn't believe it. That was me stretching my comfort zone. Here's another one. Skydiving. I actually did this last year. And some of you, anybody skydived before? Yeah, there's a few in here. Anybody say, no way, not in your life? Yeah. And I've always wanted to skydive. Now here's the interesting thing. My mom was skydiving. My mom's younger. She had me at a very young age. And I remember when I was 5 years old, she took my brother and I out to watch her and her friend jump. Oh, they're up in the plane, both of them are up there, and all of a sudden their friend jumps first, and we watched this lady fall and her parachute never opened. Oh my God. That was the memory I've had since I was 5 years old. Now the adrenaline junkie, right, saying yes, 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 yes. The image in my mind saying, no, 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 no. What if the chute doesn't open? But finally, on my birthday last year and our anniversary, my wife said, hey, you always wanted to do it. I wasn't chickening out now. So I did. I went and did it. Long story, if you want to hear all the details, the parachute did get kind of tangled up and all that stuff. I didn't know until after I was on the ground. Thank God. But it was awesome. And when I got down on the ground, you can watch the video. They videotaped me and said, what was the best part of it? The best part of it, you see right there, right before we go out, there's this little platform about this big. And I got to step out on that platform. Literally, it's like a brick. And then you got that 1, 2, 3, and you just jump, and you're just like, right? I mean, those have done it, you're just like going crazy. The best part of that was the first step out that plane when we started free falling. I didn't care if the parachute opened. It didn't matter because it was just so freaking awesome. You think I'll do it again? Yeah, I'm going to do it again. You think I'm going to be scared? Oh, heck yeah, I'm going to be scared. What thing's going to be going through my mind? Okay, first I saw my mom's friend, the parachute not open. Now I know the first time I went, the parachute got tangled up. So what else could it, this is great. But it was such a rush. And I stretched my comfort zone. I honestly believe that that's going to somehow stretch me professionally. I'm still waiting for that to happen. Maybe it's already happened. I haven't realized it. But it will happen because I've managed to stretch myself. When you try these new concepts and you're doing new things, no matter what you're doing, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And you can't just step out there. I call it stretching because you can't just step out there and grab it and say, coming in here. I am terrified of snakes. Terrified. I'm not going to go handle any snakes. Just not going to happen. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being scared of snakes. But if I wasn't, if I thought I got to get over this fear, I'm not just going to go into a snake pit. Like, okay, okay, if it's all good, they're not poisonous. I'm going to hop. No, we're gonna put the snake over there, and I'm going to kind of warm up to it. All right, that's me kind of stretching, and I'm going to get closer and closer, and that's me stretching my comfort zone instead of grabbing the snake and bringing it in. That's the way we have to be with concepts. Let's talk about relationships and values. And what you're going to find out is that I tell a lot of stories. My thought is that if you may not remember some of the facts and details. You may not remember how many the percentage of people that actually move in that first month. By the end of the day, you may not remember my name. You remember the smile. Like, that's the guy that didn't like to smile. But hopefully there'll be a story that you can relate to. It's like, oh, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. Yeah, I heard that. And a lot of these are personal stories, a lot that I've experienced along my way. But you have to build relationships. People talk about, hey, Mike, how do we get more people in the door? Yeah, we get more the marketing and all that. You got to build relationships. Everywhere you go, build relationships. Here's what happened. A lot of my stories are on the plane. I spend, Linda was introducing me and said, yeah, he's all the way from the East Coast trying to catch up. Actually, when I go home, I got to catch up with time because I spend so much time on the airplane. I'm going back and forth. I never know. I feel like a rock star. Like, not really, and I don't get paid like a rock star, but I kind of feel like one, where they're going, they don't know what city. I kind of feel like if I walked out here and, what it said something like, welcome, Little Rock. You guys just kind of looked at me. But a lot of my stories are based on the plane. I was going to give a keynote presentation in California. I'm one of these guys that, I was going to go to the airport. I was going to fly out and speak and come back the next day. That's the great thing about going to the West Coast. Fly out, speak, and come back home. So here I am. I'm all ready, getting ready, go to the airport. I'm one of these guys that have to arrive 2 hours early. Anybody like that? Anybody else? I know you don't have to, but maybe it's the military side of me. Any military folks? Fire service? Yeah, but I just want to give these guys a hand. Thank you for your service. I don't mean to embarrass you. I know that would embarrass me to somebody else, but we do appreciate it. And it's guys like them, and I'm going to throw myself in that group too, that just go kick the crap out of bin Laden. Huh? How about that? There we go. Now I just completely lost my track. Anyways, I'm at the airport. Normally I let people know I also have ADD, but it's okay. I took my medication. If I like go off a tangent, I forget where I'm at, just bring me back. Oh, yeah, this is what you were talking about. I'm not ashamed to ask for help. So I'm at the airport. I'm sitting there. I'm checked in, hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes before the flight's supposed to leave. That's normally the case. I get a lot of work done, so I'm okay with that. I'd rather do that than be rushing to get there. I sit down. I'm reading a book. I got my feet propped up. So it's kind of like this. And so I got my feet propped up, and a lady comes down and sits next to me. I say, good morning, and I'm still reading. About 5 minutes, she kind of nudges me. And I said, and I said, yes, ma'am. She said, do you realize your socks don't match? Yeah. Now, I had no reason, right, not to believe. She's about the age of my mom, like in her 60s. And I had no reason not to believe her, right? But still, you can imagine what I did. I'm like, she was right. Same pattern. One was black, one was navy blue. So it wasn't too terribly bad. So I started playing through, like, how could... First I'm thinking, oh, my God. Here I am. I'm going to give this speech. I'm going to be up on stage. Literally, I was up on a stage. I think all these people are going to see my socks. Come on, you can't see my socks when I'm standing up. But that's what's going through my mind. And we started talking. And I said, yeah, I think I figured this out. And I started sharing with her. I said, this is what happened. I said, the night before, I said, there I am. I said, I'm in my office. I'm putting the final touches on the speech. And I told the boys, I'd gone out there in the living room, said, hey, you guys, here's the laundry. Let's separate. I got some socks in here that need to be done. I said, I need to wear them tomorrow. Like, okay. And so I'm doing, the stuff in my office. About an hour later, I walk out. And the scene, if you have teenage boys, this will be very familiar to you. They got the TV going. They both had their laptops open. They got their iPods with the headphones in their ears, and their cell phones. All right, we think we were multitaskers. These guys really are. So I'm like, hey guys. Of course, they can't hear me, so I whistle. They look at me like, why are you bothering us? I said, I need you to do these clothes. I said, I got some socks in there that I need. All right, Mike, we'll take care of it. So there we go. They took care of it. They put it up there beside the military, right there beside my nightstands where everything's like right there. I can just hop into them and go. So that's what happened. That's how, obviously they mix-matched the socks, and this lady's cracking up. She, I can totally tell that she can relate, and it's time to get on the board the plane, and Southwest, so it's open seating. So, hey, do you want to sit next to me on the way to California? We can just talk. I'm one of these guys I like to talk on the plane. You probably think, yeah, shut up. You're never going to get out of here by 5. But I'm one of those guys. If you're sitting next to me on the plane and you don't want to talk, you don't want to sit next to me. But if you do sit next to me and you don't want to talk, just open up a book or something and get the hint. All right? But so she did. She came, she sat next to me, and we just had an awesome, awesome conversation. We talked about, it's about 2-hour flight. We just talked about everything. Politics, and we talked about religion, we talked about our families, we talked about our jobs, all this kind of stuff. Had a great, great conversation, got off the plane, gave each other business cards, went on our way. A couple weeks later, I'm at home. There's an envelope that shows up. I open it up. One of those, yellow padded envelopes. And in there are 2 brand new pairs of socks. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm not making this up. And then she's got a note attached. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. She goes, Mike, I really enjoyed the conversation that we had. It was great getting to know you. Here's a couple pair of new socks. Because I hope you take the opportunity to mix-match your socks more often, because it helps build these relationships. P.S., give me a call on Monday, because I want to do business with you. Up to this day, that's my largest client that I've had to date. Just because I took the opportunity to work and build and foster a relationship based on a pair of mixed match stocks. I've been to these communities, I've gone out to dinner with folks and all, and it's just opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. It's there, folks. You can do it in the grocery store. I mean, anywhere you want, you can get to know somebody and you can build that. And even if they're not old and looking for a place to live, they may know somebody. And they become referrals, exactly. So, values. Value is like beauty. What do you think I mean by that?
In the eye of the beholder.
Yes, thank you. Right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter how great we think our community is. It's about perception. If our prospect that's in front of us doesn't think we have a great community, we don't have a great community. If they don't think our community is clean, our community is dirty. It is about their perception. It's about building that value, right? We hear it over and over, yeah, build the value, build the value. They ask for price, hey, let's try to build the value before we give the price, right? That kind of thing. I'll share a story. You got this optimistic farmer, you got this pessimistic farmer. The optimistic farmer, whenever it rains, he's like, oh, thank you, God. Send the rain, I need my crops, they're going to grow. Pessimistic farmer, he's thinking, oh, Lord, take the rain away, they're going to drown, my crops are going to die, and I'm going to go broke. Sun comes out, the optimistic farmers, thank you, God, for the sun, I need it, the crops need to grow. Hopefully here in Columbus, the sun comes out so you guys can grow some crops. Of course, the pessimistic farmer, he's thinking, oh, Lord, take away the sun, they're going to dry my crops out, and I'm going to go broke. It doesn't matter what happens, that guy is always having a bad day, right? I mean, do you know anybody like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah? You married to anybody like that? You got any bosses like that? If you're sitting next to your boss, just wink at me. Wow. For all you bosses, I'm sorry to hear that. So, one day, the optimistic farmer decides he's going to go duck hunting. He's never done duck hunting, but he's going to go. So he goes out and buys this really nice hunting dog. And the day before he goes, he asks the pessimistic farmer, hey, do you want to come along? He says, yeah, sure. Here comes the next day. I want you to picture. I'm going to try to paint this picture, but imagine this. They're in the boat. You got the optimistic farmer, you got the pessimistic farmer, you got the dog. Optimistic farmer's got his rifle up here, right? Those military guys are there, he's in ready action. He's just waiting. You got the pessimistic farmer and this military guys. We've seen guys like this too, where he's just sitting there and just kind of got the rifle across his lap. And he's thinking, there ain't no ducks around here. About that time, duck went across the horizon. Optimistic farmer, pow, shoots it, one shot. Drops about 20 feet into the water. Looks at the dog, says, go get that duck. That dog jumps out of the boat and takes off. And he is running across the water, just like this. Grabs the duck in his mouth, runs back on top of the water, jumps up into the boat, lays the duck at his master's feet. Optimistic farmer's looking like, wow, he's thinking to himself, that's pretty impressive. Looks at the pessimistic farmer and goes, so he goes, what do you think of my dog? Pessimistic farmer looked at him and said, dude, you got scammed. You bought the only dog in the world that can't swim. If you're not laughing, you didn't get it, that's okay. That's a funny joke. Put that one in your cart. You'll come back tonight, I get it. I'm going to tell that joke. That's okay, all right? So the value's in the eyes of the beholder. Now I want to share another example, all right? I don't think we're ever going to get through these slides. There's no way. That's okay. We'll do like a follow-up conference call or something like that if you folks want to, but whatever. This is more fun, though, right? Even hearing the stories, you're like, no, I want to hear. We paid. If this is what we're going to do, we're going to get to it, I promise. I was giving a keynote in Philadelphia to a bunch of mystery shopping companies. Afterwards, the lady comes up to me. She owns her own mystery shopping company. She goes, Mike, she goes, do you have any married couple shoppers in the Phoenix area that would want to do mystery shops? And I kind of felt like she was asking me if I wanted to. I said, no. I said, you got the wrong idea. I said, I have a company that does that, and I have a staff that does that, and I have all these mystery shops around the United States that do that. I said, I don't personally do that. She goes, that's okay, I understand. She goes, but I'm looking for couples there. I never understood why. I said, but just out of curiosity, what's the shop for? She goes, we want these people to go do a timeshare shop. Anybody been to a timeshare?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to a couple, yeah. And I'm thinking, no, I don't think that, yeah. I said, I'll put it out there for you. She goes, and just so you know, she goes, it's in Hawaii and it's all expenses paid. Right? Yeah, exactly. That was what I did. I said, you know what? I said, on the other hand, I've done some mystery shopping. I said, I've never been to Hawaii. I said, you know, I think, yeah, I'll consider doing that. Let me go home and talk to my wife. Right? Yeah.
Can you talk her into it, Emily?
Yeah, I had to really twist her arm. She's like, what are you waiting on? Call her and tell her we'll do it before she gives it away. So we did. We show up in Hawaii. We do the person that hands you the stuff and tries to get you signed up and had to go through all the motions. So we finally get to that room. Those who've done the timeshare, you're in that room and they got the folks that they're trying to sell, then they got the members in the back. Like they're like, oh, this is great. I love this. It's that testimonial thing. You hear it from people who own it and you're sold. Like, yes, this thing is awesome. So I'm sitting there and I got my arms crossed. Imagine me with my arms crossed. I'm sitting there and Ed Bellaire gets up there and he starts talking. He goes, listen, he goes, I know a lot of you are here and you're here just for the gift. And I'm thinking, yep, that's me. He said, all I want you to do is this next 45 minutes, an hour, just open up your ears, just be open to the concept. If it's something you think it'll work for you, then do it. If not, then go get your free gift. All I'm saying is just don't tune me out. I'm thinking, okay. Here's something, like I said, some of you probably here for the gift. I'm thinking, I'm here for the gift. I'm here also to mystery shop you. It's a double whammy against you, dude. You are jacked up. You may not have a job after this. I'm going to show the world about timeshares, all right? So he starts talking. And he's going through, and the stuff that he's saying actually makes sense, right? And now my family goes on vacations quite a bit, and we're looking, we're going to spur the moment. We're like, hey, let's go wherever, and we'll hop on the plane and we'll be gone. And he started talking about these things and these dashaways, and I'll tell you, it was one of these things that kind of impressed me. And then he got about, I don't know, maybe halfway through it, and he said, I want to share a reason why you should be thinking about timeshares or just vacations in general. And he said, I want to read you a poem. Have you guys ever heard the poem The Dash by Linda Ellis?
Yes.
For those of you who haven't, write it down. Put this in your basket, write it down, because you just need to go, just do a search for it. Linda Ellis, and it's called The Dash. And essentially what it talks about is a guy's giving a eulogy, and you talk about the person, when they were born, the person, when they died, the date that they died. But the real important thing is the dash in between, the things that happened in their life. And then he said, I heard that poem for the first time 3 years ago at my daughter's funeral. Yeah, 6 years old. Now, not to get morbid on you, all right? But immediately, now we're going to talk about emotions and selling to the emotion and all that. Immediately, my ears perked up. You don't know me, but I'm going to share something with you. I also lost my 7-year-old daughter in a car accident. Will be 10 years ago on the 11th of this month. Now, if you know anybody that's lost a child, we parents have that immediate connection. When we find that, it's like, boom, it's like locked and cocked, right? We're there. So immediately my ears perked up, like, I got to talk to this guy. And afterwards, I went up, I've written a book about it, about how dealing with the loss of a child, and I offered him a book. So here, I'd like to give you this book when I talk. But the things, I actually started listening to this presentation. I went and sat down with the sales lady, and I'm sitting there, and she's talking, and I'm throwing out objection after objection at that, and she has no idea. She just thinks I'm a speaker. She has no idea that I'm a sales trainer, and that's the other side of things. And I'm throwing these objections, and she's right. Michelle's right here, and my wife's right here, and I'm here, and I'm throwing them, and my wife is overcoming them. Michelle's not saying a word. Yeah. We own a timeshare in Hawaii. My wife was sold from the get-go. But he made that emotional connection and didn't even realize it. So it is about value. It's about understanding value and actually getting those residents, when they walk in, because they're going to go to your community, they're going to go to yours, they're going to go to yours, and they're pretty much going to hear the same stinking speech everywhere they go. You don't believe it, go mystery shop your competitor. Go do it. I challenge you. It happens. And it's an emotional drain. And they go there and like, doesn't anybody really care about me on a personal level? To get to emotional, I'm just hearing the same stuff over. And you love your community so much, and you think it's so perfect for them, right, that if you just tell them everything and how much you love it, that they're going to love it. But we don't get to that emotional level with them and sell the value. We got it. The fill factor is just, I was giving a presentation, and I went to dinner the night before. I was giving a sales training just to get to know the people. And it was a very small event. It was only about 10 or 11 ladies. And we were just talking, have a great conversation. All of a sudden, one of them said, "Oh, you got to tell them about Phil." I'm like, "Well, who's Phil?" And the lady said next to me, she goes, "That's my husband." And they started talking about Phil. They said, "We're just waiting for," we'll call her Angie, who's sitting next to me. "We're just waiting for Angie to kill over because we're in line ready to marry Phil." And they started talking. They started talking about how good Phil is. I'm so glad my wife wasn't there. I know. She'd be like, "How come you can't be more like Phil?" I just read Love and Respect on the plane right over here. My wife having to slip that into my case. That's what she does. I'm like, this Phil guy, they started talking about Phil, and the more they talked about Phil, the more I wanted to marry Phil. He was awesome. I was like, oh my God. I said, you just make me want to be like Phil. You want to make me, a straight guy, want to be married to Phil. And then I incorporated into the slides. I said, what if our community, we had the same effect? We had the Phil factor. You heard the Fred Factor, the mailman guy? If you haven't, that's a good book. But the Phil Factor, where people walked out there and they're like, oh my God, this place is great. Man, they've really just made that connection with me. I just feel so good. And yeah, maybe it's not the newest place, or maybe it's a little bit further away from my church, but I just love the way that I feel. The Phil Factor. We got to have the Phil Factor in our communities to set yourself apart from your competitors. And we got a hound dog. Anybody got a hound dog? Anybody own a hound dog? No. Anybody? Nobody? Does anybody know anything about hound dogs? That was good. Hey, she's like, oh, the little one. I really need some help, because I want to tell the story, but I need somebody that could kind of imitate a hound dog. And I'll give you one of my books, or Starbucks gift card or something if you'll help me.
You have to howl?
Yes, you have to howl. You'll see. Make the story. If not, this story just won't be any good without it. Nobody's going to volunteer. Thank you. Come on up, Bill. You got to come up here. This is Bill, folks. Give Bill a hand. That was good. Test.
Good?
That was awesome.
Right.
I got to give you this, Bill.
Wait, I need to turn a videotape on.
Okay.
I didn't know she was in. If I had known that, I don't want to do it now.
So we got up to Annie a little bit here.
No, that's all right.
All right, you got it. All right, so just real practice. The practice.
No.
Oh my God.
Right? These people over here behind us, they're going, what in the world's going on over there? So I'm going to tell the story. This is great. Video cameras and cameras, all this stuff popping out. We can delete it, though. It's all good. Every time I point to you, Bill, I just need you to make that sound. All right?
Okay.
Just practice. All right. So you got this guy, and he's walking along this country road, and he's been walking for a long time. It's hot. He's tired. He's just drained. He sees a farm off in the distance. He gets a little bit closer, walks up towards the porch. He sees this old farmer there, this old guy, and he sees the old hound dog lying right next to him, making this sound. So he looks at the guy and says, "Sir," he goes, "I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm thirsty." He said, "Could I get a glass of water?" I said, "Sure." So he goes in, gets him a glass of water, comes back out. And he's drinking, and they're having a little bit of a conversation, but every time they start to get a little bit deeper in this conversation, this is what they do. So finally, the guy who's walking looks at him and says, "Sir," he goes, "what's going on with your dog? Why is he making this sound?" It's like, "Well," he said, "he's sitting on a tack." And the guy didn't know what to say, so they carried on their conversation. But the more they talked, they kept... And then it just got worse.
You're good. You have to.
So finally he stops and he goes, "Sir," he goes, "why is your dog making that noise?" goes, he's on a tack. He goes, well, why didn't he get up off the tack? He said, son, he goes, the dog is sitting on the tack. He said, but it doesn't hurt him enough to do anything about it. So anytime you're out there, I said, get rid of the hound dogs, get them out of your life. Anytime you got people around your life that are negative, right? They're the negative Nancy kind of folks, and they're like, hey, you can't do this. They're dream killers, and you think of something new, like, no, don't try it. We've tried it. It doesn't work. And no, we're not going to do the stuff that Mike was talking about because it won't work. I mean, they're dream killers. Like, oh, get them out of my life. You don't want them. I mean, when they start talking and throwing that crap at you, all you're going to hear is this. And you're going to push them out of your life. All right? Get rid of the hound dogs. Thanks, Bill. That's it. Come by after. I got a book or whatever. Some folks are saying that, oh, you guys have to know each other. I've never seen Bill in my life. Bill, do we know each other?
No.
I know. It would almost seem like you staged this, right? I did this in Virginia. I did this in Virginia 2 weeks ago, and there was a lady from the very back that did. She was awesome. She owned hound dogs, and I asked her, I said, how do they sound? She says, what do you want to know, when they got something treed or when they're doing this or that? I'm like, I just want to hear the sound, right? That's all I wanted to hear. She was awesome. Get them out of your life. Here's the process. I call it the P effect. The book is called Selling at Combat Speed. That's the first book. The new one coming out is Stop Selling, Start Caring, but it's based on the concept of selling at combat speed, and I call it the P effect. And all it is taking that canned presentation and making the customer unique. We're going to go through this really quick because we're going to show it. But this is, you got the I actually used the company name like Primo to come up with this. I thought, maybe you'll get it. If you remember Primo, you can remember that. But it's about, here it is. You got prior preparation. You got the building rapport piece. Identifying the needs, the managed presentation, overcome objections, and close. Pretty simple, right? A typical sales process. I mean, selling is selling is selling, period. And here's a quick little slide. This is how much time that you should actually be talking in the sales process and how much time you should actually spend on that particular step of the process. Now, we're not going to get into this, right, because there's a whole lot of stuff that goes, but you have it. But you can see, here's my thought. This is a Mikeism, right? You'll hear sales trainer after trainer say, hey, the most important step in the sales process is the needs discovery, discovering the needs. Mike says the most important step in the sales process is building rapport. Because if they don't trust you, they're going to lie about everything anyways. They're going to lie about the objections. They're going to lie about their needs. They're not going to put it out there. They're not going to become vulnerable. They're not going to be, my wife's sitting there, overcome objections. Everything's going to be in line unless they feel it. So you got to build that rapport. So this is the P effect. I kind of put it like in a baseball diamond. All right, people kind of get, they understand the baseball effect. You got the 4 steps. Actually, you got planning down here at the very beginning. We'll talk about that. But you got the little steps that go in between it, right? Right there at first base, you have the greeting, right? That's part of the building rapport. Then you got, as you're rounding second base, you got this whole urgency. You got to find out who the decision maker is. You're going to build credibility. And when I talk about urgency, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes because it's, to me, my definition of urgency and yours is probably a little bit different. You got the hot buttons, and then you're going to summarize everything and ask for that close. All right? Pretty simple, right? Anything in there like, nah, this looks foreign? Okay. So let's talk about planning. The whole selling at combat speed, I mean, I wrote the book and then I put a title to it. All right, but I started thinking, it's like, okay, for those in the military, you can relate to this. When you're in the military, and I don't care what branch, I was Army, but no matter what branch you're in, no matter what you're doing, you train. You train until you're just tired of the training, and it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe shooting the weapon. Anybody Army? Army? All right. Still remember sports? Yeah, sports. All right. Slap, pull, observe, release, tap, squeeze. That's just that's what you do when you're weapon jams. See, we still get it. I don't know how long they've been out, but I've been out for a while. There's these things that they get in your memory, and you don't even think about it. When you're on the range, you're in combat, and your weapon jams, which is the worst thing that can happen to you, right? You got somebody coming at you. You don't want to jam weapon, but if so, you don't have to go SP. It doesn't happen. It just happens automatic. I went into a foxhole in Desert Storm with 10 Special Forces group. I was the first one in there, and just not bore you the details. But anyways, I heard this noise. I sent out this pain in my arm, and I just reacted. Well, I took a pain up in the arm, and it's kind of like Tom Cruise. Everybody seen the Top Gun? It's like, when you're up there, if you think you're dead kind of thing, same basic concept. You learn to react without even thinking. And I wanted to bring that whole piece back to the corporate America. Now, we're not in combat, I get that. But the idea is that selling is not a thinking man's sport. What I mean is that we shouldn't have to stop and think like, okay, this is where I am, this is the step, and this is what I got to do. The process itself should be ingrained. You shouldn't even think about it. It's like, I know this is what I got to do. And even some of those major steps in there. And what I do is when I go in and coach at the community level, that's when I start fine-tuning things and I make it unique to the salesperson. And I say make it unique, those little tiny steps that go between the major steps. But that's the idea. So planning is a big part of that. Every time I go somewhere, it's like, Mike, how do you, it's like, I'm going 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the phone rings. And I got to switch from planning an event to selling. How do you do that? Well, I've got my own answer. I'm not going to tick you off with that, but it's all about the planning piece. What does it take? I'm not going to go through all this. Hopefully you got it. I don't know. You probably can't read it. But it's really all I mean is that bottom, you can't expect what you don't expect. And you got to know what your goals are, and you got to have your closing ratios. You got to know what your inquiry to visit, what your visit to close. Know what those ratios, know what it takes to get there. So I'm going to ask you this, how do we close more deals? I ask salespeople this all the time. I normally get the same response. Not this response. I actually get a verbal response.
Yeah, the relationships. They'll come back.
This is what I hear. Mike, you have to get operations to spend more money, get more leads coming in the door. I get that, okay? That becomes a numbers game. That's an X through there. It's kind of pink. But I disagree with that. Focus on your closing ratios. And here's what I mean. You got 10 people coming in the door and you close one of them, your closing ratio is 10%. Now if you say, oh, yeah, okay, yep, I need more people coming. You want me to close more? I need more people. Okay, I give you 20, you get 2, you close 2 people. Anybody can do that. Any average salesperson can do that. So if I got 30, I'm going to close 3. That's your average salesperson, right? But what I want to do is I want to focus on the closing ratios, and that's what the P effect would do. I want it to be 20%, so when I got 10 people, I'm closing 2. If I got 20 people, I'm closing 4. Bottom line is stop focusing about the quantity, the number of people, and focus more time on the quality. I spend a little bit more time doing that planning and really genuinely, we talked about, I heard, hey, I want to be compassionate. I want people to think that I'm genuine. You got to show that you're genuine. They're just not going to trust you because you say it. Your actions are going to show that. All right, first base. When I was living in the Washington, D.C. area, I was the coach, an assistant coach for a coach pitch baseball team. That's the coaches, your own coach pitches to your players. Just introducing it's 8, 9, 10-year-olds, 7, 8, 9, something like that. And just introducing the game. They haven't been, brought up into it, so it was more, hey, just learn how to play. We had 4 teams, and we all kind of played each other all the time. We got to know the parents. They got to know us, coaches. It was kind of like a big, happy family, although we really wanted to win. Had one particular kid on the team. His name was Connor. And Connor was one of those kids that I knew from the very beginning that he was a little bit slower than everybody else. And the great thing about Connor, though, is that he had this smile on his face. It was, honestly, if you saw Batman the Joker, it was like huge. I mean, this smile, I loved to see Connor smile. Loved it. And he always wore his hat a little cockeyed and up a little bit kind of stuff, but he was always smiling, was never in the ready position, just out, just doing his thing. He was a happy kid. The thing about Connor is every time he got up to bat, he'd never take a swing at the ball. He just let it go right by. Strike after strike, and he was out. And he'd smile, and he'd go his own way. Well, it's the last game of the season. It's 2 outs. I know I couldn't set this up any better. And Connor's up to bat. Now there's a guy on second base, and there's Connor. So I call, I'm coaching third base. I call timeout. I go over to Connor. I say, hey, Connor, I said, here's the deal, buddy. I said, just take a swing at the ball. You haven't done it all year. He's like, okay, coach. Smiles. I go down third base. Here comes the pitch. What do you think Connor does? Am I smiling, by the way? Okay, all right. What do you think he does? Lets it go, right? Yeah. Call timeout, go again. All right, Connor, hey, buddy, you going to take a swing? He goes, yeah, all right, coach, I'm going to do it this time. I got it this time. I said, all right, good. Everybody's looking for it. I go back down. Here comes the pitch. What do you think Connor does? Watch it go by. I call timeout. I get down on a knee this time. I'm not going to do it so you can see me. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm looking in his eyes, right? I'm looking up at him at this point. I said, Connor, I said, check it out. I said, this is it. I said, you're not going to have this opportunity ever again in your life. You may next year. I said, but this is the golden opportunity. I said, look around you. And he's looking around. He's seeing everybody. And they're wondering what I'm saying to him. I'm sure. I said, they all just want to see you swing the bat. They don't care if you hit it. They just want to see you swing it. I said, do it. You think you can do it? I said, you think you can do it for your parents? You think you can do it for me? He goes, yeah, Coach. Yeah, I'll do it. So I go down third baseline. Here comes the pitch. What does Connor do? I got one says he swings. Some of you are like, I don't know what to answer. Don't worry, it's okay. That's what I should have told him to do. She said he stepped in front of the ball to get hit.
Oh, shit.
Man, if I could go back in time, right? Just, if it a time machine, like, that's it. The story would be almost as good, though. But he does. He takes a swing. And he makes contact. Now, you would have thought, bottom of the ninth in the World Series, Game 7, that he just put it over the fence. The place just went crazy. I mean, everybody was cheering. The ball just trickled like right up there. So first thing I want to do as a parent, not his parent, but I know how my kids are when they're playing sports. I kind of looked around. I want to see the reaction. You know, Mom, you can imagine, right? Mom, they got the, like, oh, just so proud, that tears and all this. And Dad, and this all happened pretty quick, but it's kind of in slow motion for me. Dad is like yelling and doing this. And I turn around, and Connor's coming right down third baseline at me.
No.
Slides into third base. Guy from second base, he's coming to third base. He slides into third base. Both of them get up. Connor gives him this look like, what are you doing on my bag? Yeah. Umpire calls him out. Connor, he loses that smile just for a couple seconds. Coach, he goes, what happened? I said, Connor, I'm so proud of you. Everybody's proud of you. I said, next year, I said, when you're swinging and you make a hit, I said, you got to go to first base first. And he smiles like, all right, Coach. That's just life, right, guys? I mean, there's no jumping bases. I've tried it when I was younger. It doesn't work. You got to go to first base first. In the sales process, same thing. All of us had these Connors up, they just screaming to get out. And we want to go to third base because this is typically what happens. Prospect comes in, or on the phone, whatever, and they ask, give me some pricing information, or I'd like some information about your community. And how do we respond? Okay, we'll give that to you. What I hear, what I see most of the time, like, okay, so who are you looking for? How'd you hear about us? Okay, so you're looking for Mom. So, hey, tell me a little bit about Mom's situation, right? And they tell a little bit. And about 2 or 3 minutes into it, we throw up all over their shoes. Or we just regurgitate because we're so happy. We're like, yep, I got it. I got the place for Mom. This is it. And we just go immediately into presentation mode. We go to third base without really even building rapport or identifying needs, especially on the phone. It's hard. I mean, it is not easy to build rapport on the phone. It's just not. I mean, and the goal is what? We want to get them in for a visit anyways. I hear this all the time. Hey, can you get some information? Yeah, I'd love to give you some information, but I tell you what, if you come in, and actually see the place, and I can paint you a picture, but it's nothing like, those kind of things where they're closing, they never even left home base. They're closing before they even get any kind of information from them. And so, yeah, it's difficult. But that's what happens. The prospect gets there, and we go to third base. This is called the redirect. You want to put this in your shopping cart, all right? And if you want, like, Mike, send me the actual steps to this redirect. I will be happy to do this. And I would tell you, if you do this, this will help. If you're already building rapport, and you got those people building rapport, we're going to talk behaviors in a few minutes, that's fine. The whole purpose of this is to get you back to first base so you can build rapport. That's the whole purpose of the redirect. So somebody comes in, I'd like some information on your community. Your response, I'd be happy to give you some information on our community. Do you mind if I ask you a question first? Most of the time, they're like, yeah, they're okay. You got some? No. But what's your situation? That easy. That's it. And you shut up. Put tape, do whatever you got to do. One, pricing. Hey, can you give me some pricing on your one bedrooms? I would have to give you some pricing on our one bedrooms. Do you mind if I ask you a question first? What's your situation? That easy. That's going to get them opening up and talking. Even if they only give you one statement, then you can ask questions about that one statement, but that's going to at least give you that opportunity to get back over here to first base. Now, the reason you do it in that order, you heard them say, yeah, I'd be happy to give you whatever they're asking for. The reason why you're doing it is because you're acknowledging the fact. You're not like just trying to, hey, they want pricing. Most of the time they want pricing. Give me some pricing, right? I heard what you're saying. It's okay if I ask you that question first. You're asking permission, and then what's your situation? Now you're kind of redirecting them back. Some will say, no, I just want to know the pricing, right? And then what's our typical response? I think it's a great response. Like, well, in order to give you a better estimate or a better price or whatever, we got to find out a little more information about you, see what your needs are, that kind of thing. And sometimes they'll say, okay, sure, ask the question. Sometimes like, no, they're me. What I say, ballpark it. Give me a low, give me a high, ballpark it. I want to know what it is in there. I'm that kind of guy. All right? If you were selling to me and when I end up in a senior living community one of these days, that's what I'll be doing. Ballpark it. Tell me where it's at. Before I even get started, I want to know if I can even afford this place. But how many of us have bought something that we can't afford? At least we thought we couldn't afford. I'd be surprised if anybody really, okay, we've got one person. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'm always, but not that we can't afford, just don't need. But most of us have got, okay, I went in to buy this particular card and I got the upgraded model. Even though I didn't think I could afford it, you figure out a way, well, yeah, if I cut this out of my budget, I can afford that. We always end up being able to do that. And that's how you get the prospect. Now, there's a whole lot more that goes into this, but that's the redirect, put it into your card. I didn't see a whole lot of people writing it down. You can email me. I'll send it to you. I got my business cards. But I'm telling you, I've seen it time and time again. If you build rapport, you will see your closing ratios jump significantly because most of us aren't doing. Your 80% that you're losing on the phone may drop down to 50%. And you're thinking, oh, I'm only getting 50%. Those are pretty good numbers. Look at your CRM right now. That's the very first place I look when I go do coaching. Show me your CRM. Show me your closing ratios. So we want to get them to first base. First base is about that rapport, that credibility and trust. The bottom line is that we have to earn the right to be right. And what I mean by that is that just because we think we're right and just because we're throwing that out there, that doesn't make it right. Now, you could be saying the same thing about me right now. Oh, Mike, just because you're saying it, because you've used it and you've trained it all over the United States, so what? That doesn't mean it's going to work for me. That's true. You may not believe that. If you do, if you don't, I've got some people that you can call, but there's my credibility right there. If you don't trust me, there's some credibility right there where you can call, hey, call these people because it's worked for their communities. This community was down over here, and they tripled their closing ratios in the first quarter. So just little things, but you have to build that trust, and that happens at first base, but you have to earn the right to be right. And that's about getting them to trust you. And if you jump right to third base, they don't trust you. They won't come out and say that, but they won't. All right. Be interested, not interesting. Got another story, we won't talk about it. We're just going to kind of go through this stuff. But the idea is, it's not about me. And what I see a lot is where salespeople are trying too hard to relate, to find that common ground, which is good, right? I talked about Ed Belair and the timeshare. Yep, I own a timeshare. If he had not brought up the poem about the dash and brought up about his daughter, do you think I would own a timeshare? Maybe, because my wife freaking wanted it. Maybe. But I was sold before I ever walked out of that room. Before I even sat down at the sales table, I was sold because of that common bond. But you'd be interested. We want to find that place that we can relate, and that's important. But you got to do it on that emotional level. See, if they enjoy hiking and you enjoy hiking, who cares? Why do they enjoy hiking? Now you're at an emotional level. Now when you connect emotionally on that, it's like, oh, you know what? We can kind of connect there because that's the reason why I like to hike as well. Or that's the reason why, and maybe it's not hiking, but maybe there's an emotion that you feel, and this is what, I go out and race cars because of that. But whatever we want to connect at the emotional level, not up here, down here at the emotional level. And then empathize, sympathize, and relate. Now here's a big thing that I've seen, I've heard on shops, is that if somebody's gone through something in their life, and if you haven't personally gone through that, don't tell them you understand how they feel. If they just lost their father, and you've never lost your father or mother or parent, don't say you understand. You may think you understand because maybe you've lost something, or you know somebody, and that's where the relate comes in, where you can sympathize. Yeah, we deal with a lot of folks that come in that that are now just that they're single because of a loss, and I can't possibly understand how they feel, but I know that they found a home, and that kind of thing. But as soon as you throw out and you say I understand, there goes the wall. Like you don't have a clue. I know. I've never lost a parent. I've lost my grandfather who pretty much raised me most of my life. He's like a parent. I've lost a child. And for people to say, oh yeah, I can understand. I can understand how hard that is. I've lost. No, you can't. I don't tell them that. I'm like, go ahead and think that you do, but you can't possibly understand that. And immediately this thing goes up and like, okay, I'm not even hearing what you're saying. You're just, you're talking stupid. Like I hear these lips moving, but I don't. That's what happened with the prospects. They may be sitting here nodding like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's hard, huh? And they may carry on that conversation, but deep down they're thinking, all right, I'm going to get out of here because this person doesn't have a clue. They're trying to sell me. I came in for a Ford and they're trying to put me into a Cadillac, or vice versa. They're just trying to get me in. They don't really care. What's the golden rule? Okay, what's that? Do unto others, should have them do unto you, right? I mean, we ever since we were knee-high to grasshoppers, that's what our parents should teach us. Hey, Mike, treat them the way you want to be treated, right? That's the golden rule. We're going to take it a step further. I'm not saying the golden rule doesn't work, but when we're talking about our residents, I want you to implement the platinum rule. You need to treat others the way they want and the way they need to be treated. Now we're about to segue into behaviors, and that part's going to be really dry. I mean, I'm going to tell you up front, if you think this was dry, I'm sorry. That's going to be a little bit, but it's important. And it's one of those things where, maybe put it on the shelf, maybe put it in your cart, but once you start getting and you start moving up and you start really defining that sales process, those behaviors, there's a lot of psychology that goes into sales, and that behavior thing will be important. Is it one of those key things that you should be taking? It depends on where you are in your sales process. We're going to talk about it. But the platinum rule is treat them the way they want and the way they need to be treated. Now, I'll give you an example. My wife is, and we'll talk about this, my wife is a talker, a socializer. We're going to cut that out too. And I'm kind of more the driver kind of guy, kind of like the commander. My wife is very, she likes a lot of the details when she's telling her stories or whatever, and I'm just the opposite. Just give me the Reader's Digest version. We can be sitting in the car, and she could be having a conversation on her cell phone that takes a minute. And I ask her, okay, so what was that all about? And she'll give me a 5-minute explanation where I could have a 1-minute conversation. She'll say, so what was that all about? And I'm giving it to her in about 5 seconds. Now, I know that she wants more information, and I don't want all the, and matter of fact, a lot of times I say, stop. I said, I don't need all the details. Just give me the Reader's Digest version. Just tell me what I need to make that decision. And that's the difference in the personality. I realize if I want to communicate better with her, we're going to cut this whole segment out because she's going to hold me to it. If I want to communicate better with her, then I've got to give her more details up front. Well, this is, that was Jim on the phone, and this is what's going on, and that's what she wants to know. Because if I don't give it to her, she's going to ask, right? But if it's just up front, she'll know that, oh, he's giving me these. I know he's not a detailed kind of guy, but it makes her feel a little bit better. And vice versa. When she's talking to me, I'll ask if I want more detail because she told me that. She was, you were talking about that, and one of the things is that when I don't give you all the details, you ask. You always ask for more details, and I will. If there's more details, something I'm interested, I'll ask. But up front, just give me right there at the top level and give it to me. I know our communication. I know that it's important. I know that would improve even more. And that's just a very, very small difference between men and women and personality types. When we're talking men or women, well, what is that book? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus or something? Man, that is true. I've never read the book. I probably should read the book. But I believe that. I mean, we're like planets apart. We think this whole love and respect book that I just wrote about, I mean, it's very eye-opening to me. It's like, wow. I mean, I knew this kind of at a surface, but really the way women and men think. And then we're not even talking about the different personalities that go with it. But we treat them the way they want need to be treated. All right. Here's the different behaviors. The driver, the talker, the thinker, relator. These are all kind of, if you anybody done disc profiling? Yeah, all these things kind of tie back to the disc and the Myers-Briggs and all that. But I just want to make it easier. You know, when you say talker, you kind of get the idea. You think, well, Mike, you're a talker. Shut up. Yeah? Actually, I'm really not. You got your dominant characteristic, then you got your one that's not so dominant. That the talker really is kind of my subdominant one. But in a nutshell, this summarizes the different kinds of behaviors. Now, let's dig down a little bit. I told you I was a driver. You look at those traits. Right, I want the bottom line results. If I'm going to make a decision, give me the information. Just give me the information I need, and I'm going to make it pretty quick. Is there any drivers in here? Any other drivers? Right? I mean, that's pretty much the case, right? It's like, don't bore me with all this other stuff. Just give me what I need, and I'm going to make a decision. Those are the guys where I'm going to walk in, or they're going to walk in and say, and you try to redirect them. Yeah, I want some pricing. Well, I'd be happy to give you pricing. You mind if I ask you a question? What's your situation? No, yeah, actually, I do mind. I just want to know the prices. Well, in order to give you price, no, I just want the prices. That's how I'm going to gauge my decision. So you give them the price, and then you move on. But I'm that kind of guy. Risk taker, there we go. I'm down there at the bottom. Here's our challenges, right? We're not very flexible, pretty rigid. This is the way we want it. Impatient should have been my middle name. When guys hand out patience, I mean, and I try. Man, I honestly try to have more patience in certain things. But it's just very, very difficult. I mean, it's very challenging. I had to make a conscious effort. I mean, I'm just not a very patient person. And the poor listening skills. Why? When my wife is talking, she's telling about her 1-minute conversation, it takes her 5 minutes. I heard about the first 20 seconds of it.
You're on to the next thing.
I am. That's exactly. I'm on to the next thing. And she says, you're not listening to me. I said, you're right. You know, it's that she goes, you have selective listening. Yes, I do. You say I have selective talking. No, not really. But I mean, I don't tell her that. You know, but you know, that's one of those things. Like I don't listen very well. And competition. You know, I told you about my daughter. I'm okay with this now because I'm secure enough in my manhood. But we used to play Pretty Princess. Anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, that's where you twirl the little thing and you put on different kind of jewelry. I know what you're thinking. That's okay. Go ahead and judge me. That's fine. But you know, you never wanted the black ring, right? That was it. And anytime you got it, man, it's like you just want. And I even wanted to win at Pretty Princess. My first wife would tell me, let them win. Even my son, who's extreme, he's just like me. He's very competitive. He's 20 years old and in college, and he just wants to win. He gets mad when he comes home. And we're playing basketball, and he's just like me. He's competitive. He's like, that's probably why she's my first wife, my ex-wife. Like, you know, let him win. But I never let it. It was a competition. Every competition drives me. For me, that is a good source, but sometimes it would be too competitive. We want to be in charge. We want to be given authority to make decisions. That's why I did so well in the military. I was fast-tracking before I blew my knee out. But drivers, right? I mean, that's what we want. We're one of these guys like, I want the ball. When it's game time, and it's time to win, the game is on the line, I want that ball. Give it to me. I'm going to punch the line. I'm going to get the pass. I'm going to be the quarterback. I'm going to throw it. That's who I am. Even though I can't see over the line of scrimmage, I still want the ball. So we don't want a 40-hour work week. We want a 4-hour work day. And we just constantly just going. We can't get enough. Here's the talkers. Right? Any talkers in the room? You're outgoing, you're friendly, you're easy to approach. No talkers? Any talkers? Yeah, we got some talkers. I would think most of us as salespeople are kind of talkers. And people think that, hey, you know, talkers automatically are good salespeople. I've had my son come up to me and goes, that person loves to talk. Man, they're a good talker. They're a good salesperson. I disagree. Good listeners are good salespeople, not necessarily good talkers. But they're great, right? They're the life of the party. Right? It's kind of like, I mean, I want to sit next to a talker on the plane. Somebody's going to talk to me, and we're going to have this conversation, and 4 or 5 hours, it's going to be gone. I've got a very, 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 very dear friend who I met 3 or 4 months ago, coming back from Austin. Yeah, I mean, he's a very dear friend. But we just started talking, and we talked for like 3.5 hours and never shut up. He's in the aisle. I'm over here by the window. We got a guy between us, and we're just like leaning forward like this. You ever been on one of those flights? Like, will these two shut up kind of thing? But it's nice to have those talkers. And here's the thing, talkers, they're involved. They're going over. They got a short attention span because they're talking, then right, they're moving on to the next thing. And they can't be too social. Here's the relators. Relators are the most loyal people in your company, or if they're prospects, they're the most loyal. They're the ones they're the team player. They don't necessarily want to be the decision maker, and they're actually okay if they're not part of the decision. They just kind of want to be maybe over here in the shadows just a little bit and just helping to influence that. Or once the decision comes in, I'm going to make that happen. What's going to be best for the team? What's going to be best for my family member? If by moving mom or dad in here, how is that going to affect the rest of the family? They're also some of the most abused folks because they're the ones who just can't say no. If you're a relator in here, your plate can be just running over, and your boss or somebody comes up to your colleague and say, hey, can you do this? Can you put this event together? You're like, sure, no problem. And you just add another thing on and on. You're the go-to person. You're loyal. I know when I got go-to people in my company, I can go to that person and give them, no matter how much they have, they're going to make sure it gets done. And that's tough. That's a tough role to be in. But they're very good, loyal, and very good team players, and they'll go the extra mile. And they're great listeners. And I've seen relators, and this is tough for executives to get their mind around and put their arms around this concept, but I've seen relators actually be better salespeople than talkers because they are such great listeners. And those relators, that as soon as I coach them with them and I teach them the questions when they need to ask this particular kind of questions, man, they just pick it up and they're just good because they ask the questions and they're very comfortable just with that dead silence. Just asking the question and shutting up. And then your thinker. This is like my dad. I used to hate it. I played Trivial Pursuit with my dad when I was a kid. He knew the answer. I'd ask a question. He knew the answer. And he'd wait 3 or 4 minutes to answer it. It just drove me impatient, right? It's like, come on. I want to win this game. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. I'm the driver. I want to go. Answer the question. Dad's sitting there, and he's just evaluating things. Just over and over and over. The thinkers are the ones that when they come in there, and you start spewing out facts and say, yeah, we're number one because of this, or we've got this going on, and you're building credibility, you better be able to show them proof. And they also well, how long is it going to take? Well, we're going to be here. If you have lunch or you have a meal with us about 2 hours, you better be sure that you can fit everything in that 2 hours. Because they're agenda-driven, they're details. They want all these details. The talker likes to give it, and the talker and the thinker, they'll get along great because they'll just sit back and as much as you talk, they're writing this stuff down. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time building rapport with them. Same thing with the driver. You don't have to spend a lot of time building rapport with them. How are we doing on time? Doing good? All right. So, how do we sell to these guys? How do you sell to a guy like me? Right? Ask questions, get them talking about themselves. Not necessarily about myself. You start asking questions about my family. I like talking about my family. I like talking about my daughter. A lot of people, when they find out about that, they're like, I don't want to talk about that. Well, 8 years ago, I didn't want to talk about it. I love talking about my daughter. I love talking about my kids. I'm proud of my kids. You start talking about the military, you ask any guy in here. Now, we're not going to share intimate details about military if we saw any action, but we love the fact that we served our country, and we're proud of that, and we will talk about that, and we'll share that experience with you. We love to talk about that kind of stuff. You find out something that I, as a driver, am interested in, and I know that you're interested in it, I'll talk to you about it. For strangers, you walk up and say, that common question, so you're married, how many kids do you have? That's the hardest question in the world for me to answer. But I've learned how to do it now. It really depends. If I look at you and I'm thinking, you don't really care. I can say, yep, I've got 4, counting my stepkids, and the one that includes the angel, Macy. I could say that if I thought, yeah, you really, you could probably care, and you probably are genuinely interested in that. But if I look at you and think, nah, not this person, they wouldn't get it. I got 3, all 3 boys. But if we got to that point where we started talking, you started diving a little bit deeper, and you started asking some questions, and I thought, well, maybe I misjudged this person. And I said, well, I told you I only had 3, but let me share some with you and talk about Macy. No, I'll sit there now, just talk about Macy. I wrote a book about it. My 4th book, Strong Finish, I talk about it. I always share that with you. That's the way our prospects are the same way. And it doesn't have to be about death. A lot of times it is, right? A lot of times they come in because they have lost somebody close to them. Or, it's Alzheimer's or something like that. I mean, and now you're dealing with a family member and stuff. And a lot of times they don't want to open up and share it. A lot of them will, right? A lot of them, man, as soon as you say, hey, what's going on? And, the tears and everything start coming, but a lot of them are reserved, and they don't want to become vulnerable. I tell my wife, I said, they see you coming. Timeshare in Hawaii, they saw her coming. From a mile away, she said, I'm buying. And she doesn't throw anything out there. I was throwing objections, Michelle didn't even give her a chance. That's me. I had my wall up. I don't want to let that wall down. So you got to find out those things that we're interested in. And there's some questions. But when I say let them be in charge, you need to control the sales process. You control the sales process by the questions. It's almost time, isn't it? Give me like 5 minutes. We're going to get through this so we can have a good segue. But you control the questions. You control the sales process by the questions that you ask. And by asking open-ended and get them talking. And then you kind of transition through. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details, but that's how you control it. And it's okay. You can be in charge. Men, for the most part, this may be an epiphany for you, and you can put this one in your cart. We are not in charge. As soon as you can get your arms around that, you'll be living a lot happier life. The ladies in our lives allow us to think we are in charge. And the women are laughing like, yep, that's right. If my husband was here, I wish he could hear. Maybe we should get this tape. And I'm okay with that. I'm a driver, and my wife lets me think I'm in charge. Right? I feel good about that. But when it comes down to it, like finances, I tell people, I said, you could give me $1 million if I could guess within $1,000 how much I have in our banking account, and I wouldn't get it because I don't know. I choose not to know. I mean, it's just my wife handles all that stuff. Major decisions, yeah. But I feel good because I feel like I'm in charge. When I'm at work, I know I'm in charge. I got that. I feel good. That's why I did well in the military. I wore the bars. I was in charge. People knew that. Drivers like that. They like to have that command decision. They like to be responsible. And if you are in charge and you are the boss, hold yourself accountable. Not even going to go in there. That's a different presentation. And talkers, build rapport with them. Now, drivers, remember, I don't care if you build that much rapport with me, but if you can build rapport with me, you've gone to a completely different level with me as a driver. And I was doing some training a couple months ago, and I gave an example. I'm not going to get into it, but I gave this example, and the lady told me the next morning, I was flying out the next morning, sat down where I was having coffee. She goes, Mike, she goes, I saw the training side of you. She goes, but then when you gave that example, and a lot of times, like I said, they're real-world examples, and you started sharing that with you, she goes, I saw a completely different side of you. Just, there is that, it's not that hard. It's the guy that smiles. There is that little bit of that emotion and kind of stuff that actually comes out. And I share that because I'm the driver, and if you can get me to that level, I don't want to go there. I can tell you right now, I want to go to third base. As a driver, I want to go straight to third base. But if you can get me to that level, I've trusted you, I like you, and I opened up, I became vulnerable. I am ready to buy from you because I trust you. And you've got me somewhere where nobody else had, and they didn't even care to. Talkers, they're easy. They're easy to build rapport with. Ask a question. What are some questions you can ask a talker just to kind of get them going? I had one guy said, just say hello. Talkers are the ones that, if you're busy, you don't want to meet them in the break room or at the water fountain or something, right? Because they're going to tell you about their weekend. It's easy to build that relationship with talkers. They want to become your friend. Relators, another, build rapport because they'll listen to you. But the questions that you're asking, it's not how is this going to affect you, but how is this going to affect your family members? You're asking questions that has to revolve around the team, the family unit, because they're not looking at how this is going to affect them. They're looking at how is this going to affect the rest of my family. Or better yet, how is this affecting you and your family? I rarely hear that question. And I'm just so dying to hear it, where we build rapport with that person that's on the phone or that's in front of us. We stop worrying about who the resident is that's going to move it in, and we put that in your heart, because I'm sick and tired. We don't come across as genuine, and these people, it is an emotional process. You see it every day, but yet we act like we don't care. And I know we do care, but to them, their perception is that we don't care, because we don't ask how are you handling this? I know this must be hard on you because we've had other family members that have gone, I can't understand because I haven't done it, right? But there's other people that have, and I've seen them go through this, how this is affecting you. Build rapport with them because guess what? Guess who the decision maker is going to be? Guess who's going to be a major decision maker? Maybe they're not going to be but they're going to go back and they're going to have to sell it to mom or dad or to the rest of the siblings who they're getting the information for. Thinkers, they don't want to hear this, I feel that I kind of sense that this is what you're going through. No, they don't want to hear all that junk. They really are logic. Another one, if you can build rapport with a thinker, it's like a driver. Man, you are just levels above the rest. We're going to talk about urgency. Now, when I think about urgency, what comes to mind? I say, all right, we need to find the urgency. We need to create some urgency. What comes to mind? Do it now. Yeah, immediate. But what as a salesperson, when we're in our community, we think, okay, how can I create urgency? I'm looking for that urgency. What do we think? Here's where I'm kind of getting. I'm kind of thinking, all right, what special are we running this month? Maybe it's December for the new year. Like, all right, just for this month only, we're going to waive this whatever. Or we only got. You're interested in, our 2 bedrooms. Well, that's pretty much our most popular model. We only got one of them left. There, that kind of thing. And I'm saying that's okay. I'm not saying that's not okay. But when I think of urgency, and I was talking about, remember, if you think of the baseball diamond, where the urgency part was at, is as you're rounding second, right between first and second base, you got the credibility and you got that urgency and decision. This is one of these things that I guess some of you said in Andre's presentation yesterday, the shopping cart guy. That's who I got it from a couple weeks ago in Virginia. I thought, man, that's just a great idea. And he gives a great presentation. But this is one of those, as Andre would say, put it in your cart. This is what I mean by determined urgency. Is this working? Well, maybe we're not going to determine urgency. I probably just pushed this thing like enough times to go 20 slides into it. Like, yes, we're going to finish early. That's the key. All right, bear with me. Well, that's working. Let me see if I can, hold on just a second. There we go. Look at that. Just froze up. All right, so remember at the very beginning, we're redirected, we find out their situation, right? What's the prospect situation? Next question, how long have they been in that current situation? All right, so we asked them, have you with this? Mind if I ask you a question, what's your situation? They told us, we dug down, we found out really what that situation is. How long have you been in? Especially for those other than IO. You're talking AL, memory care, also, those levels where it's pretty much a needs-based. They're there because there's a need. When you find out, okay, how long have they been in this situation? Here's the money question right here. What's recently happened for you to come in today? What's recently happened for you to start looking? Because more than likely something's happened. And you're getting that at the very beginning, right there around first base. You want to find out what that is. Because when you get over here and they throw that thing, well, I'm just looking or I'm not ready, or I got, I'm not sure if this is really the right decision for mom or dad. Maybe they forgot to take their medication, or maybe they left the heater on or the range or whatever. When you get to that, when you follow the process and you get to that emotional level where there's trust and rapport and relationship, you can bring up some things that, you kind of remind them of the pain. You have the right to do that at that point. And those kind of questions where, well, what's going to have to happen for you to make that decision? Or, next time may be too late. Now, if you say that in the beginning and there's no relationship, you're manipulating. That's what they're thinking. Like, whatever. You don't know my situation. You don't care. You're just saying that because you're trying to get me to move in. But if they know, if you got to that point where, you're genuinely interested in them, you've got to that emotional level, you guys have connected, and you can say something like that, they're like, you're right. And yeah, it hurts, but it's a reminder. But if you don't ask this, it's kind of difficult to ask that kind of question in the end. So you want to find out, okay, what has happened? What got you to this point? They don't, and I know, for the most part, right? I mean, they don't come in, you've probably heard this time and time, they don't come in just because they have anything else better to do. It's Saturday, and it's like, hey, we don't have anything else better to do. Let's go check out this community down the street. Been driving by it for years. Let's go see what it's all about. I have had those in independent living, and I've actually closed one of those when I was coaching a prospect in independent living. I call them looky-loos. But you never discount that. There's some reason why they're coming in. Second base. We're gonna go through this. What are hot buttons? Shouldn't be a new terminology. What are the hot buttons? Anybody?
Like define it, or what are
Yeah. Define, what are they?
I mean, a hot button would be something to get the prospect reacting or
Something to get the prospect reacting.
excited or panicked.
Excited, panicked.
Talk about falls.
Talk about falls. I think it's what I define as those emotional drivers that can help dictate the decision. And as I said, I didn't say drivers, I said the emotional drivers. It's not about the what, it's about the why, that emotional level, the emotional drive. So how do we get that? How do we figure out what those are? By listening. You ask good questions. That's what you got to do first, right? You got to ask the good questions, then you got to really listen. And not just about listening, we're going to talk about questioning, but to really dig down and peel that onion back a little bit more. Here's the different things about questioning skills. The main thing is that what's in that green little rectangle there is that the majority of the time, the reason we are losing those leads and those deals, the 80% number, that's just on the phone, is because we don't build rapport with them. We don't find out really what their true needs are, those true emotional needs. A lot of times we'll find out, the logical, the things, the amenities, and those kind of needs, but we don't find out the emotional behind it. Remember, we buy in emotions, we back it up with fact and logic, but most of the time we're selling to the logic as opposed to that emotion. It's tough. You can't get to that level unless you build rapport and they trust you and you become genuinely interested. You'll hear me talk about that. If I was training, if this was a 2-day training course, I'd spend half a day on building rapport, maybe 2/3 of that day. And then the rest of the time we'd go to these other bases because that's the foundation of everything, that trust. They have to trust you in order to get to that level. As a driver, if I don't trust you, if I even have a hint that you don't really even care about me genuinely as a person or what I'm going through, I'm not about to open up and share that with you because then I become vulnerable. At that point, I'm showing you my cards. Yeah.
Mike, I think when we worked together before, one of the things that you taught my team was that people, correct me if I got this wrong, but people want to work with people that they feel are like them in some way.
Yeah.
So if you ask questions, you find out something about them and then can relate to them in some way or make them feel like you have something in common, then they more quickly trust you and think, I want to do business with you.
Exactly. People, remember I said people want to buy, they don't want to be sold? And what Paul was saying, bless you, what Paul was saying on the other side of that is that people want to buy from people they like and trust. Now, I don't know, does anybody, I don't care whatever it is that you may buy or you go get your hair cut at the same place, or ladies, you go get your hair done. I mean, some of us have our favorite places that we go to because we trust them, right? I mean, I've got my favorite barbershop, and it's not a matter of, for me, that piece isn't about trust. I mean, how can you mess this up, right? I mean, but I know my wife, and ladies, you're probably the same way. There's somebody like, no, nobody else, this is who. And it doesn't matter where this hairdresser goes around the valley, my wife will follow her. She trusts her. She knows she's not going to mess up her hair. I see some of you smiling, you get it. The rest of you are like, oh, I don't know. But I was kind of just using that as an example. They trust. Just like what Paul just did right there was kind of, and maybe he didn't, it kind of built a little bit of credibility for me. Yeah, we have worked with Paul. And it's come from a former company and kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, all right, let's find out the real deal about this. I'm just going to go talk to Paul about it. But what he said, he did that credibility. So if you don't know me, but if somebody refers, this comes to referral at that point, somebody sends you that prospect in because they know you or they've had that experience, it's just, at that point, it's kind of like a referral. It becomes a referral, and they close twice as quickly as a general inquiry. Now, when I talk about building rapport, I'm going to back up a little bit. I don't know if there's any bosses in here. If there are, I don't mean to step on your toes, but those who are at that sales level, all right, the front line, if your boss is telling you not to waste your time on those B and C leads or the ones that aren't hot and just focus on the low-hanging fruit, I mean, I know you got to listen to them, you might get fired, but what I'm telling you, and I'm telling the bosses, lay off, because whether they're qualified or you don't try to qualify them on the phone. get them in there, because whether they move in or not, they could become a referral source for you. And and your wait list, while we're talking, here we go. He's got me off, they just got me off on a tangent. Your wait list, folks, check your wait list. I've had people come to me all the time, yeah, we're 100% and we got a wait list. That's great, I love it. I just worked with the company last year in Scottsdale that had 100%, been 100% for years. All of a sudden they lost 14 in a month. You know, and few moved out, the rest were deaths. Just kind of took that toll and hit them pretty hard. But they've gone for 2 or 3 years and been at that level. You don't have the sales skills, you don't use them, they're perishable, you lose them. Right? And I get the phone call, okay, Mike, we've exhausted our wait list. Like, what do you mean? And I mean, I knew it. But what do you mean? Well, we've gone through it. Most of them moved on. You know, they couldn't wait, they need to go. And this is AL and IL. You know, they've gone someplace else because they got so caught up with having that wait list and being able to maybe pull 1 or 2 if they needed it, or just the new leads that were coming in. And then all of a sudden, blam, now they didn't know what to do. The wait list was gone. So don't get just caught up on that wait list thing and think, hey, that is my reserve. But bosses and then salespeople, build rapport with everybody. Be genuinely interested. They're there. You may not be able to meet the need, but at least you can try. And maybe they'll move somebody in, or maybe then they themselves will move in, maybe they won't. But if there's something that you couldn't do, or they just, for some reason, they could not move in there, it just wasn't right, they will refer other people. I've seen it. I saw a gentleman that we worked with that was torn, and finally he ended up he was in Texas, and he had to go, you know, like 300 or 400 miles away to be closer to another family member or something. He was sending his friends, because they run in circles, right? I mean, they got their friends. He was sending friends to the community that he couldn't move into, because he was so convinced that it was the right place. And it just happened to be both communities belonged to the same company, 300 miles apart, but he was referring people there because they weren't going to move where he was at. They become referrals. Build rapport with everybody. Don't just say, hey, I'm not going to waste my time because that's a B or C lead, or I've contacted them 2 or 3 times and it's done and over with. We're going to move on. Get below the surface. Now, what I mean by that, when you're asking questions, and I see it, and you're probably sitting there, you may not agree with me now, but if you really do a soul search, you'll agree that we ask questions, and then we move over here to the next question, and then we move over here to the next question, and we get that answer, and we move over here. Instead of moving down and asking a question, find out the answer, and then really digging a little bit deeper and asking a question about the answer and going down until we get to that emotional level. I'm telling you, it only takes a few questions, 3 or 4 questions deep, before you get to an emotional level with somebody. And that's like a driver like me. You get down to that level, just asking 3 or 4 questions, taking it down below the surface, and you're going to get at an emotional level. So get the what and get the why. It's not about the what. I mean, that's important, right? The what is the amenities and the features and all that kind of stuff, but we've got to find out the why. Why is that so important to you? I sat there and went on a tour with the lady, and one of the first questions came out of the guy's mouth before we went on the tour. I was sitting there with security. How's security here? Oh, well, you know, we have, I guess, securities that we don't want to say secure, because you don't have a 24-hour guard or whatever, but she started answering. It was an objection. Came out at the very beginning. Yeah, we have a gated community, and we have somebody that's, you know, kind of watch patrol that goes through here, and then just went right on, and just kept on going. We got into the tour, into the 1 bedroom down there. There was an access door, and for some reason they had, when they was constructing the building, they had to have that access door right there. That was the only unit on the floor. I didn't know that, but the guy asked. He goes, "Is there another door like this in the master bedroom?" No, this is only one. Matter of fact, there's only one in that unit, kind of thing. She answered the question and move on. I'm sitting there just because I bite my tongue, and I bite it because I don't want to get involved. I'm there to kind of evaluate, and we talk about it afterwards. But sometimes I jump in, just because I got to make a point. I want to show him how. And I didn't, but I should have. But he asked twice about security. I mean, does he need to hold up a sign and say, why? Why is that important? What happened? Obviously, something happened for him to be asking questions and be so concerned about that. And that was the why. It's not so much that, nope, that's the only door. It's not your master bedroom. And it's not enough that we have a gated community. What is the reason behind that? Where's that emotion? And let me try to figure out what that emotion, guaranteed most of us can match emotions with somebody else. We've all kind of experienced the same emotions, maybe from different events, but we can match those emotions. Get the what before you get the why. Prioritize, clarify, all this kind of stuff. This would make more sense. But the whole idea really is that when you ask a question and they give you more than one answer, find out what's the most important. What's going to be the most important about this feature? What's the most important amenity? Narrow it down, and find out what they mean by that amenity. If you're just building rapport, I love to ask. My favorite question at the very beginning. So when you're not looking for a place for your mom or dad, or you're not looking for yourself, what do you like to do for fun? You go, I like to do this, this, and this. We'll narrow it down. Ask questions about it. So what do you like to do the most? And don't. What we do as salespeople, what do you like to do for fun? I like to ski. I like to ride horses. Oh, I like to ride horses too. Or I like to golf. Oh, where do you golf? And so we get to that point, we jump in, we want to relate so quickly that we forget to really, maybe the golf or riding horses really isn't that important to me. We find out really what is important to them and get to that emotional level. Why? Tell me what. And that's why I was sharing with you with this lady. Said, hey, I saw you, Mike, with just a few questions. If somebody would just ask the right questions, dive a little bit deeper. That story, the story that I share from that is close to my heart. It's tough for me to tell. It has nothing to do with my daughter. It has to do with my brother, who's alive and well. I was just his best man a few weeks ago. But you get down to that emotional level with me, with the driver, just by drilling down a little bit and finding out, being really, really interested. And that's when you're going to start taking sales to another level. And then you relate. I don't care that you like to golf. I do. If I'm another golfer, that's great. But if I find out why you like to golf, and then somehow we can share, okay, I get it. So it's not just about the competition thing, but it's about that family thing and spending some time. And when you can relate, and these military guys, if they're golfers, we don't have to golf. If I got to the emotional level, find out, okay, why do you enjoy doing with this? And guaranteed, I can almost guarantee that something in there is going to revolve around family, because we've been separated from our family for so long. So it becomes a huge value for us. And if I can match that value, we automatically have a bond. Scott and I was talking about knee replacements. He's young, had knee replacement. We didn't get an emotional level, but had we got in there and we started talking, we spent a few minutes, we probably could have got down to different levels, talked about the military and all those kind of things. And just got, we're guys with guys, we're like, no, we're like, we're the Neanderthals. We still drag our knuckles on the ground sometimes and beat our chest, right? We don't go to that place. But sometimes we do. You just got to know how to get us there. Listening skills. There you go. This is all kind of basic stuff. Big thing, ask questions about their answers. You stay up here at the surface, you're doing exactly what everybody else is doing it. Now, I know you're probably saying, no, I'm not doing it. Yes, you are. But that's the good news is that everybody's doing that. Literally, go shop your competitor. Pick up the phone, call your competitor. Everybody, not all the time, but the majority of the time, that's what happens. Especially when you're busy going 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the phone rings or somebody walks in, and you got to stop doing that, and you got to go into sales mode. You just go in, you slip into your comfort zone, and I'm amazed when I hear a phone, somebody picks up the phone, and they start asking a question. You can tell they weren't ready. You can tell the salesperson was not ready to answer any questions. Because it's those typical same questions. Also, tell me about mom, and how did you hear about us, and those typical kind of questions you get just to, I can only imagine. So tell me about mom, and you kind of get your paper stuff to go. I can see the picture. I've seen it in person. We're not ready. And that's another different story, but we're spending the majority of our time, salespeople, doing non-generator related, sales-related activities. Non-revenue generated activities. We got to spend more time on sales-related. Eye contact is important. It's that and it's not one of these things where, when I say eye contact, it's not where I'm going to sit here and just, we're having this conversation. See, she's even uncomfortable with me sitting here, and I'm not, it's like I'm not going to look away. We're right here. I'm not even going to blink. I got contacts in, and it helps me, That's uncomfortable, folks, But even as I go across this room, you see, I'm trying to make eye contact with people, even for a second or half a second, because it's a way of connecting. Right? I'm looking at you, and I can tell that, okay, maybe there's some form of connection going on. I can see who's sleeping, and I'm just kind of I'm going right over the ones that are sleeping, all right? But it's just one of those things. I had my daughter, I remember, at a very, very young age. We were talking, I don't remember, we could have been at the dinner table or something, and she grabbed my face, and she did like this, right? And she goes, listen to me. I said, honey, I am listening to you. She goes, no, you're not. You're not looking at me. Look at me when I'm talking, so it's one of those things. And I just kind of, it was one of those habits, but it's like, it's just the way we are. I mean, if I'm sitting here and I'm giving this presentation, you're not looking at me. I'm thinking, you may be listening, but I'm thinking, no, I've lost you. I lost you about 45 minutes ago. But maintain that eye contact. What's a feature? What's a benefit? Is this yours or mine?
That's yours.
Thanks. I was going to take a drink anyways. I'm just kidding. What's a feature? What's a benefit? I'm actually asking for.
Yeah, features would talk about, gated community, like you said, how many bedrooms.
Physical
stuff.
Yeah, physical aspect.
Yep.
Dining room,
Anything you reach out and touch, right?
yeah.
And a benefit? It's what?
Feelings.
Something you enjoyed, the feelings, why it's important, right? So, and we've heard this, right? I mean, business sells anything, features tell, but the benefits sell.
Right.
All right, we're telling how great it is, but what's the benefit behind that? Why is that important? And I tell people that even if you got your tour, and most salespeople do, right? You got your little tour, I mean, there should be like a path. I would think you had to replace the carpet about twice a year because there's a path that we all kind of go on, right? And we're just leading down this thing, and we got everything, and here's our card room, and here's our private dining room, and all that kind of stuff. And I tell people that's great. And I'm not saying, to ignore fair housing and all that kind of stuff, because I know you show one person, you got to show the other. But the idea is that if you're going to talk about a feature, attach a benefit with it. And many times, I do see salespeople do a good job of this. I mean, they really do. Here's a private dining room. It's nice because you can bring your family in, and you can just have your friends and all this kind of stuff. There's that physical. But if we really found out that was important, found out why, it's that emotional benefit that we want to attach. But at the very, very minimum, if you're going to talk about it, this is why it is important. Now, it may not be important to them, but like I said, the rule of thumb, if you're going to do it, at least put it out there. This is why it could be important. At least you're attaching that feature to a benefit. What's a warning signal? What's a warning signal when we're driving? Red light, yellow light, signs, right? The hazard signs, the slippery when wet, and all that kind of stuff. So now let's transfer that into sales. Is this difficult?
No.
No? Okay, all right. I mean, it seems like I'm asking some tough questions here. Maybe I just lost you. We're almost done, folks. Really, just come on, hang with me.
Or body language.
The warning signal. Yeah, you'll get it through the body signal. What is it, though?
Well, they look away. They're kind of like,
Yeah.
kind of paying attention to us.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Looking at your watch, you're kind of like, all right, what? So, you're kind of doing this, like, all right, it's almost done. I just want to get out of this community. How about a buying signal? Yeah, smiles, yeah. So what do we do? There we go. There's the definitions. Right? Warning signal, a little bit concerned, a little bit hesitant. Buying signal, like, hey, yeah, I'm ready. I want to move forward. So what do we do when we get these? Close with the buying.
Right.
Dig a little bit deeper there. See, there we go. It's pretty elementary stuff, right? Do we really do that? Some of us do. Sometimes we do. Do we do it all the time? But here we go, home plate. What's the definition of a close?
Move-in date.
Got a move-in date? Shaking hands, deposits, paperwork, getting signed the deal. Will they actually move in? When they actually move in? Here's my definition of a close. It's the next logical step in the sales process. So let's talk about the phone call. What's the close? And what we were just talking about was like, that's the final close. That's where we want to get them. And to be quite honest, when we talk about closing ratios, that's kind of what we're measuring. But on a phone call, somebody calls in, what's the close? What's the ultimate close? What's the tour?
Right.
Well, what could another close be? What could another logical step be? What's that? I think another call. Set up another call, right? Right.
That they want.
If they come in for a visit, and so they don't leave a deposit or sign right there, so what's the next logical step?
Sometimes I will even offer to go to their place.
Yeah, a home visit, which is fantastic. I mean, it could be a variety of things. What is not is a brochure. Here, or on the phone, let me send you a brochure. If it was left up to me, I'd get rid of every brochure that every community had. I get so tired of saying, oh, okay, well, so you don't want to come? So this is just the first place, well, let me send you a brochure. Okay, well, we're wasting a lot of marketing dollars. You want more leads? Quit sending out brochures. Yeah. That's an ultimate close. But a close really is the next logical step. So we know that they're not going to come in and for the most part. And now some have. I've actually been there when people come in and say, okay, who do I make the check out to? Isn't that great first time? But most of the time it's not that case. Right? Most of the time. Unless you're maybe the second or third and that's the last place and like, okay, this is definitely it. So the close really is the next one. So it could be setting up another appointment. If it's a phone call, it's like, well, I need to talk to my spouse about this and see when we can come in. Okay, so the next logical step would set up another phone call to figure out when we can set up that appointment. Now here's all these little closing techniques, right? You can read about them, and there's people that can write them from A to Z, and they put these names to it and all that. I almost call those trial closes, which we're going to talk about. But here's the one thing is that by going through a sales process, and I'm not even just going to talk about my sales process, I'm talking about a sales process, no matter what you adopt, it gives you the right. You earn the right to ask for a close. And I think that is the case. I think we need to earn the right. I think every one of us should earn the right to ask for a close. I've got off the phone before when I've asked for a close and thought I had no right asking for that. I kind of felt like, no offense, but I felt like the car salesman where I just wanted to get him in a car and get him off the lot. I believe you have to earn the right to ask for the close. However, even if you don't earn the right, and this is that part where you think, okay, what's that number one thing? What's the number one close? What is the close? You ask. Even if you haven't earned the right, because I will share with you right now, if we take your sales process, your presentation from a perspective of putting it into a sales process, whether it's telephone or it's in person, if we take that, and if we're really honest with ourselves, most of the time we haven't earned the right to ask for the close. And a lot, for the driver, it's easy for me to ask for the close, whether I've earned it or not. I'm going to ask. That's just who I am. For the relator, maybe sometimes the talker, like, oh, I want to be friends, and like, and I've dealt with, I've coached folks like that, where I'm just, Mike, they're not asking for the close. Okay, we're going to talk about them. We get in there, it's like, yeah, I get it. You don't feel like you deserve, and you should be able to ask that. I get that, and I'm glad that you feel that way. The driver needs to adopt some of that. But we'll ask him, I believe you need to earn the right to ask for the close. But even if we don't, still ask for the close every time. And I said that may not be, hey, do you want to sign today? Do you want to leave a deposit? But it could be, what's the next action step? I work with some of my clients that when the salesperson is actually entering information into the CRM, they have to put a next step in there. And they have to know what that next step is, and the prospect has to know. At least they should. Even that's kind of sketchy at times.
I've had people that develop such a relationship with the prospect that they can't bring themselves to ask them to move in.
And I don't even, how does that work? I mean,
They're like, well, I know them so well.
If they want, they'll do it.
I want to move in.
Here's the thing, and that's the first time I've heard that one, Paul.
Paul, take the social worker out of the admission's office.
Put yourself in their position, and you've spent this time and energy, and you've come to visit, and you've gone in there, and they didn't ask you, hey, do you want to come live in our community? I know for me personally, I'd be thinking that maybe there's something about me they didn't want me there, or maybe they didn't want my mom or my dad there because they didn't even offer that. I would have thought, well, if it was a good fit, they would at least ask. They would have offered. They want to be asked for the most part. There's some there's some drivers like me, like myself, and it depends on their personality, that regardless whether you ask or not, they're going to do it or they're not going to do it. But for the most part, I think most people want to be asked. They want to know that you do care enough to move them in. Here's what is a trial close? We gave that list, and I call them kind of trial closes, but what are they?
Time to go ahead and set the next step.
Yeah. What else? What's it? Yes, whoever said that. That's kind of a close, but I heard somebody say test the waters, get that temperature, right? And I see this, I see it a lot where salespeople, they'll do I went on this one tour, this one lady, and she's showing this card, she showed the card room to this guy. I said, and here's the card room. Says, can you see yourself sitting here playing cards with your friends? No. That was his answer. Went to the private dining room. Here's the private dining room, and with their spill. Can you see yourself bringing your family? No. Here's a swimming pool. All these things. In my mind, I'm thinking, if you would actually had the conversation in the beginning, you would have known what he would have liked and what he would enjoy doing. But finally got to the little computer lab and the library. And every time she asked, she was doing this temperature gauge, Instead of stopping, going and finding out, but she just went on, which I gave her kudos for that. So at least she got there. But she finally got to the computer. Yeah, the guy loves, and he loves computers. And that's the first thing. He goes, hey, is there a place for me to hook up my computer? Instead of saying no, there was an interest there. Now, what I would have done is, we're gonna sit here and spend a few minutes in here because he likes this, he enjoys this. When we got to the library, this guy had written like 25 books. He loved to write, loved to read. You got to get to that point, right? And he spent some time there and talk to him, find out what, but at least she was taking that temperature. Because as soon as he said no, she was moving on to the next thing. She wasn't trying to battle like, even though you may not play cards, you could still come in here and maybe have some drinks and you guys talk. It wasn't any of that. It was just moving on to the next thing. That's what the trial close is, to find out. So what do you think so far? It's like, warning signal. Him to get the, and of course they're probably not doing it. I'd be like, this doesn't seem like we're not going down the right path together. When do you use the trial closes? Anytime. I'm going to answer for you. Anytime, right? You can ask anytime. So what do you think so far? We talked about a lot of stuff so far. So what do you think? You think this is something that's going to work out for your mom? Will this work out for your dad? Will this work out for you? Objections. Objections, they're like kids in the house. If you don't hear them, you need to go search them. All right? You want objections. People are like, oh, no, I don't want objections. I don't know, I get all these objections. We want objections. I'm telling you, when I don't throw, remember with the timeshare with Michelle? I was throwing out those objections. And what was I trying to do? It's just that need. I wanted more information. Had I just been sitting there with my arms folded, I said, maybe we would have, maybe we wouldn't have, because if my wife would have let me act like I was in charge, I probably would have said, no, we're not getting it, we don't need it kind of thing. But it was those objections where I was throwing them out there, not just to throw them, but I really did want to get more information. And that's, yeah.
Maybe you're going to get to it. I was to say, if you don't hear objections, how do you go about getting those? Is that what you're talking about? Because I don't know how you ask.
One of the ways you can gauge what their objections may be, the way I start out in my community, is I ask them what their expectations are right off the bat, so I know exactly what their objections are. Hey.
And that's in case you didn't hear, she asked one of hers, and that's good. What are your expectations? What are you looking for? What are you looking to gain when you move into a community like ours? What are some of the things that you've noticed in other communities? What are things that concern you? Have you seen anything yet that concerns you? Is there any need that we can't meet or that we haven't met? Is there anything that we haven't talked about? Those kind of questions because I think most of the time, almost 99% of the time, we're going to get some type of objection. And most of the time, if you haven't had one up to the point where you're asking for the close, you'll probably get one at the close. Unless they're ready to open up their checkbook. If not, they're going to, an objection is like an excuse. Like, oh no, I got to sell my house, or the price is too high. Those kind of things. Now, the thing is, why do they occur? We're looking for more information. So, when we get the objections, real quick, listen, classify, and satisfy. So you got to listen to it. A lot of times I think as salespeople, we just kind of just turn it off like, oh, I've heard this before. We got to classify it. I'm going to talk about classifying in a minute. And then, okay, if there's something we can do about it, let's do it. So here it is. Is it real or is it a smoke screen? Now remember when I did the lost leads thing, the first few slides, remember I talked about all those, there's like 5, 10, 10%, the 3 common objections they gave, and how many of those were actually honest. It was a very, very low percentage. But what we find most of the time is that we're getting objections thrown at us, and we're either trying to overcome the wrong objection, or we're like, well, there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, they say, I got to sell my house. Well, what I hear all the time is it on the market? And do you have a realtor? Because I know somebody, that kind of thing. Or it's too high, price is too high. What was the third one? I forget what it was. But the objections, they come out, and on that chart, when we rate yourself, I say, yeah, we do a good job of overcoming objections. We do a good job of overcoming the wrong objections. Had I put in there, do we do a good job of overcoming the right objection? We've been way over here by the ones. Because a lot of times we don't even know what that right objection is. And that's where this is one of these things. I went to work with the lady over on the East Coast, and this kind of blew me away. I looked at they sent me their CRM report, and they sent over like 6 months worth. And I looked, and there only been like 2 or 3 move-ins, maybe 4 in that 6 months. So when I got on site and I actually looked into the CRM and started digging down a little bit deeper, I started noticing that there only been like 6 or 7 that year. And then I look at the previous year, there only been 6 or 7. So I asked, I said, is this typical? I said, yeah, we only get about 6 or 7 a year. And I don't know about any of you, but I'm thinking, wow. I said, I probably wouldn't have a job if I only got 6 or 7 a year. And we were working and going through these numbers. In my mind, I just couldn't get my arms around this. I'm like, how? I don't get this. There's no accountability. But anyways, I started working with Ann. And she was one of those relators, and she's having trouble asking for the close and the whole objection thing. This method here, I taught her. She said, ask this question. If it's price or whatever, suppose we could figure out a way to make it work for you. Would you move in today? If they say yes, and whatever it is, suppose whatever that objection is, suppose we figure out a way to whatever that objection. Is there any other reason why you wouldn't move in? Would you move in? Would you buy it? Whatever that question is, it's all in one. You put it together and it works perfectly. If it's yes, then yeah. Now let's ask questions about it and find out what's going on. How can we figure out this whole pricing thing? But if it's not, then that whole price thing, which is 10% of the time it's not the truth. It's a smokescreen. They're putting it out there. It's too high. Well, how do you overcome that? I got to sell a house. How do I overcome that? Look at the economy. The economy sucks. We get it, but maybe it's just an education. Folks, guess what? We know this. The market's not going to be back where it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's just not going to get there. Maybe 30, 40 years down the road, who knows? Right now, we just be happy to get out of a recession. So these, we're talking about the people that, oh man, I'm not going to sell my house because I'm not going to make as much as what I would have. Most of these people, most that I've seen when I've been there at the communities, most of them own their homes outright anyways. They're just like, oh no, I just need to hold on to it. I need to stay in a little bit longer because I'll make a little bit more when I sell it. So sometimes it's even just an education process, but most of the time it's a smokescreen. And we got to get past that smokescreen, got to find out whether it's a real objection. If it truly is about price, if it truly is about selling a house, well then let's ask, let's dig a little bit deeper. Is it really the price that concerns you, or is it something else? And you may be thinking, oh, that's a little forward, Mike. Well, you've earned the right to ask that if you've gone through the process. You haven't really earned the right, and most of us probably wouldn't even ask this kind of question, even think about it. You're like, oh, we're kind of going there where we shouldn't go. I wouldn't want somebody asking me that. I told you it's price, period. That's all you get out of me. But if I'm talking to a friend, all right, we can talk a little bit about this. And here's what's going on. She took this. I taught her this in one morning. One of the things that we did, not just that, but she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, I love this. At lunchtime, she made a list of 5 people. She goes, here's 5 people I'm going to go call lunch, and they've given me this objection, whatever the objection is, and I'm going to use it. 4 out of those 5 closed in a week. She sent me an email the following week. One couple who lived I believe in Maryland, sent $80,000 deposit check on a home that they hadn't even seen yet. And it was over, so I forget what the objection was, but it was something kind of silly, but she just let it go. She's like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. It had something to do with the writing in the contract, the first right of refusal or something. But it was one of those 4 out of the 5, just something basic, as simple as that. Anticipate it, handle it, then ask for the close. Pretty simple, it's the aha. All right, so you've done all you can do, and we're almost done, folks. If you're looking at this, you're like, oh, thank God, man, I can't take this anymore. If they still leave, what do we do? I heard one person say it's 1 out of 80 is actually doing it. maybe some up here heard it, but we're not going to tell you what she said. What do you do if they still leave? Follow up. Oh, there we go. There's a couple. All right, so we've got a couple of people who are actively following up. That's good. I call it the slot machine syndrome. Here's why. I know this person. She goes in to the casino, and instead of she likes to play the slots. So instead of just like sitting down as soon as she walks in, she loves to play slots. She's like a tiger looking for a prey. She's walking around, looking at different aisles. She'll actually go up and she'll even hold conversations with people. And so how's it going? You know, if you've ever been to a casino, people love to talk. Has it paid out? Nah, I haven't really paid out in a while. So, oh yeah, it's paid out. Just paid out about 5 minutes ago, and you know, whatever. She knows she's not getting there. She'll find out. She'll find that slot where she wants to go. She'll wait for that person to get up that hadn't paid out in a while, and she'll sit down. And most of the time, it'll pay out. Not all the time, but the percentages are a lot higher. And after all that person's dumped all that money in, they get up and walk out. She gets down there and she gets the reward. That's kind of what happens with the follow-up process. And this is where our B and C leads and wait list folks come in. Because a lot of times people on the wait list, you know, even if they are on the wait list, if we haven't followed up with them and then all of a sudden, you know, there's an immediate need, something just happened, who are they going to be contacting? Probably the person who contacted them last. That's who's fresh on their mind, right? But what happens is we'll follow up, we'll follow up 2 or 3 times, whatever, and then we move them over there to that B, we move them over there to the C, whatever that might be, and we kind of forget about them. We worry about these other leads that are coming in and maybe cycle through the A leads and the B, but we kind of put them back on the back burner. And then our competitors are over there, and because they've gone, they visited there too, maybe 2 or 3 places, and they're, you know, every month they're on the tickler, they're doing something, they're following up, it's a personal follow-up, or maybe it's once a quarter, I don't know. But all of a sudden, they happen to call just when something happened. You did all that work after 2 or 3 follow-up, and to get them kind of, get the interest, get them peaked up there. It's like, hey, here's the work. It's like you're at the slot, you dumped all that money in. I said, that's a kind of a cold lead. They're not going to move in. I'm just going to kind of write them off for now. I'll follow up in 6 months. Competitor swooped in, took that lead. They did about 20% of selling. You had to do 80%. They should be sending you a thank you card. Thanks for doing all the work. They come to live with me. That's the whole idea behind the slot machine. Now, average salesperson gets up, what do you think? And I'm not going to say that you're average. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, but if in your mind, think of the average salesperson. I heard somebody say 2. Any other numbers? They checked out. Get this on tape. If you guys are watching this, you have checked out. There. They give out. So, you know, it's like, hey, all right. So we should make 3 calls. It's not bad. 80% of sales calls close after about how many times? The minimum. Normally. 5. Yeah, that's what I got there too. At 5. I got that on the slide. You guys cheating? I do. Cheaters. Actually, I see some don't have their slides open. He's like, yeah, he's just smart. The rest of you are cheating. And many times it's more than that, right? I mean, it seems like, man, we just keep on. We send this. We're inviting them to this event. We got this lunch and learn. We got this going on. We got a Valentine's. We got St. Patrick's. We got sickle, you know, all this stuff that we invite them to, and they just don't come, right? So it's fall. And finally, eventually, like, all right, it's time, and where do they want to go? The person that's continuing to follow up. But most, 80% of people giving up after 5 times. They're moving them over there to BC. And I've heard sometimes where it's been really the bosses. If there's any bosses, I'm not saying this is you, where they said, hey, quit worrying about those and focus on the A, the low-hanging fruit. Those guys, you've been following up with them 4 or 5 months. And, you know, you're spending time there. You need to be spending time on these guys coming in. Here's my thought on that. If you got so many leads that are coming in the door that you just don't know what to do with them, okay, I get it. Sometimes you got to classify them and move them along a little bit, and yeah, focus on the low-hanging fruit. I don't know yet of a community or a company out there that's in that situation. If you are, be blessed. You are blessed. Consider yourself blessed. And the rest of us in the room, like, please send some of them our way if you don't know what to do with it. Point is, work that lead. It's not about just the quantity, it's about that quality. So 5% of salespeople, I'm throwing there, make 5 or more of those calls. So if 80% close after a minimum of 5, and you only got 5% that are making more than 5 calls, the bottom line is that 5% of the salespeople are closing 80% of the deal. So you look around, I don't think we have 100, maybe just shy. Let's say we got 100 people in here. 5 of you got 80%. The other 95 of us, we get 20%. So we're fighting for those 20% of the deals, just basically on follow-up. Now, if this isn't like just hitting you in the gut, I had one young lady send me an email, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago. When I put this out there, she goes, oh my gosh. She says, I never really even thought about it like that. Because when I saw these numbers, she goes, I didn't believe it. Then I went to my CRM, and she started looking at that. She goes, that concerned me. She says, there's so much business out there, so many prospects out there. Remember, 45% are moving in the first 1 to 3 months. What is our closing ratio? I mean, is it really 45, 50%? And then I hear it all the time also, right? Salespeople, you'll agree that, man, if I can get them into the door, most of the time I can close them. You'd have to send me your CRM for me to believe that too. I mean, it's not that I don't trust you, but I look at the numbers. And even so, even the CRM sometimes doesn't tell the truth. Anybody can go in there and put in a number or, hey, I sent this and I sent that. When it comes to follow-up, be creative with your follow-up. If you're sending out a draft email, don't think they don't know. If you're sending just something out that's not personal, they're getting that from your competitors too. Maybe they're not, and that just sets you, at least that raises the bar a little bit. You're fresh on their mind. But attach a little note. Yeah, send a little doggy treat. Yeah, if they got a dog or something, or whatever, something you found out personal, or if it's an article, Alzheimer's, you found something online, and get one of those little yellow stickies and write, hey, hey Barb, I thought you'd enjoy this article. Put it in the mail and send it handwritten. Handwrite the envelope. I don't do that. But when we're sending out Christmas cards to our clients, I have somebody actually do that, and then I actually do sign the card. But even the handwritten, if I see a handwritten envelope and all of our junk mail that we're getting, I don't even have to look at it. Most of my wife, she's a fiend when it comes to mail. She loves to get mail. We can't go a day without mail. And she's in there, she's separating stuff out. Here's your stuff, here's my stuff. So I don't have to deal with it too much. But when she says, here's something from a client, and most of the time it's got a handwritten envelope on it. And guess what's the first thing I'm opening? I'm opening it. And guess what? I keep them. Some of them are on my desk, some are on my little file cabinet, some are actually in my file cabinet, but I keep it. And sometimes my wife likes to go and organize my office. That really ticks me off, because then I can't find anything. She knows this too, Hans. If you watch this, you'll know this. But she'll ask me, she says, hey, what about, here's this letter. So, oh yeah, that's from so-and-so. I know who it's from. It's important to me. I don't get them enough. It's not that I do a bad job. We just, there's so much other stuff that's going on that we forget to do that. So make it personal. All right, so honestly, we went through so much information, and look at this. We're even going to be early. We scaled back on a lot of stuff. There's some, believe it or not, there's some stories I did not tell that I was going to tell. But just as a group, one last hoorah, because you guys have been on fire as a group. I can't believe I've had to settle you down so much. I'm going to tell Kathy how unruly you guys were. It was noisy. What are some things that, as Andre would say, we kind of put in our shopping cart? Maybe for you, what are some things that maybe jumped out that I haven't thought about, something that you can take back and say, hey, this is something that maybe that I can work on, that I can change? More follow-up. See the way that works? It's kind of like, I'm just going to tie this in real quick. That's the last thing we kind of left off, and it's kind of fresh on your mind. Imagine your prospect. Oh my God, I just got a written invitation. I got a written card thanking them for coming 6 months ago. They're fresh in my mind. That's the first person I'm going to call.
That's why I was going to say follow up with the personal letter and the envelope.
Yeah, if you've done marketing or you're a consultant, that's something they'll all say. This is not rocket scientists. It's right. Just like Paul got.
Just a comment on that. We always, in our facilities, whether it's a phone call, we have the information, we always handwrite a note. And so many times when we've had the tour, they would have a note with them with their stuff.
When they come back.
And it just goes to show how they look at the people, because it's just your regular marketing collateral. They're not going to look at that. But they'll bring a note in and say, I got your note. And want you to know that they received it. So,
And how many have actually picked up the phone and actually called? Because that's what I do. If somebody sends me a note or even an email, even though it's a little bit, but I understand. That's the world that we're in, technology. And they send me, hey, Mike, great, love this, did that, whatever. I'm picking up the phone, or, if I'm on the road or something, I'm sending an email back and just thanking them. When somebody comes up to me after giving a presentation or something, and or whatever, no matter what kind of kudos it may get or that we give, me, it's not. I don't even feel obligated. I kind of feel obligated, but it's out of my heart. It's like, that it's one of those things where, hey, if I'm able to help one person, and you tell me that this one thing may have helped you, I appreciate you saying that to me, or I send an email. But second, I just want you to know that means a tremendous amount to me. That's why I do what I do. I spend a lot of time on the road away from my family, and my family is a huge value for me, and you understand why. I haven't always been that person, that family was number one. I always, there was a time in my life where I put my job first. And then when I went through the loss that I did, it kind of, my values got discombobulated. And people think, well, your family's not number one in your life anymore. Yeah, they are. But they also understand the passion that I have. And a lot of times when I'm speaking, it's not just doing stuff like this. It's keynote, it's inspiration, stuff that I speak from my heart where I'm really trying to help people. And they're okay with that. If they came to me and said, Mike, we need you home more often. We need you to stop traveling so much. We need you home. I'd do it. I don't even know how I got started off on that. So, V8s. The AHAs, the shopping cart. Yeah, Paul?
Yeah, I think the thing you said that sticks with me, and it's really kind of elementary, but I hadn't really stopped to consciously think it through, is your suggestion, build a relationship with everybody, because you don't know, they could be a referral, like, an advocate, whatever, they might know somebody. I mean, I probably subconsciously, might meet someone and think, okay, if they're not a prospect, then, I might pull them off, or at least interact with them differently than if I think this is a genuine prospect. But that's something I need to be careful of.
I was doing some training. It seems like everything's on the East Coast, but it was on one of these little islands out in Georgia, Florida, or something off the coast. And that night we went to a restaurant, and we were waiting to get seated, so we sat at the bar area. And we're sitting, and it's awesome because it is one of those kind of resort island kind of places. So there are people who, IL is what these people need, or at least it would work for them. And we're sitting there at this bar, and I'm striking up this conversation with these folks from Canada, and the three girls that are with me that I'm doing some coaching for, they're talking this other guy that works for the FBI, and we just got this great conversation going. So what are you guys doing? They're sharing, but we work at this community. Well, yeah, I'd like to reach out to you maybe and get a little bit more information about it. And as we were leaving to get seated, I overheard the bartenders tell the folks, one of the guys that was sitting there, said, if you're serious about looking for a place like that, he goes, those are the people you want to talk to. That's a bartender who was a referral for that community. Because, obviously these ladies went there kind of often, pretty often, and I don't know how long, but at least they developed, maybe they're good tippers. They're easy on the eyes, but it's just one of those things where even when you get a bartender referring, a senior living community, come on, you're doing a good job. Everybody becomes or can be a referral source. That's why I say, if nothing else, if you don't take anything, build that rapport. Build rapport. If you want to see your closing ratio jump up, you want to see an immediate move in your closing ratio, immediate. Start spending some time and spend a little bit more time focusing on building rapport. It's kind of like, I kind of relate to the golf swing. I just got some brand new clubs. I got some new oversized, literally like 2 weeks ago, and I took them out, and my game is jacked up. It is, if you play golf, you understand that. You just tweak one little thing about anything, and it's like you got to relearn the game all over again. But one of the things about it is that, so much of that should be muscle memory. And like if I know that I'm leaving my club face open, for some reason I'm leaving it open, what I'm doing is the only thing I'm thinking about when I'm swinging now is like, close the club face. I'm like, get your hands turned over, club. That's it. I'm not thinking about any of the other movement, shifting my weight and doing all this stuff and following through. Like, get your hands turned over. Turn them over. That's all I'm thinking about. And sometimes I'll take that, the ball will react to that, but I'm happy. At least that's all. The building rapport piece, that's one. Don't think about all this other stuff that I told you. All right? Do. But if you're going to go home and you want to see an immediate, and I'm telling you, there may be a few of you out here that do a really good job building rapport. And I'm not talking about and I'm not talking about at the end, where that friendly conversation comes in and you're like, oh, this is good. This is, you want that in the beginning because you want that trust, you want that credibility, you want to be able to build that emotional level with them. Now, what I will share with you, so let me finish that thought. So build the rapport. Don't focus on anything else. Think, okay, for the next month, all I'm going to do is just, I want to build rapport. I'm not going to think about anything else. Build rapport, get to know this person. Be genuinely interested in that person. See, I was going to tell you something else, I forgot. That's what happens. But that's more important, build rapport. Anything else, any other big gates? Here's what I get. Most of the time, somebody says, okay, Micah, there's 2 or 3 things that you want to take away besides the building rapport. That's, you see that's up there at the top. Here's the whole list of things. I don't know if that's in your handouts, but if it's not, like I said, email me, I'll send this stuff to you. I really don't have a problem with that. But those are just some things like, okay, Mike, I do that. If you're one of the few in here that do a great job building rapport, then you don't have to focus on that. All right, maybe you need to focus on the urgency. Let me get that urgency, find out what brought you in here in the first place. So when I get ready to close, I can tie all that stuff back in. Or maybe I'm not a good closer. Maybe I'm not asking for the close. I'm going to make sure. Out of everything else, I'm just going to make sure no matter what, I'm going to ask for that close, whether I'm in the right or not.
Right objections are going too.
The objections. Overcome the right objections. So if you're one of those folks that are, chasing the wrong objection, like, okay, from now on, that's what I'm going to drill down. How long have you been in the situation? What's recently happened? What's recently happened for you to come in today? And then you get that objection. Well, if I can help you overcome, we can work at the price or whatever, there's any other reason. So, in conclusion, first of all, are there any other questions? Anybody got any questions? I'm going to be here tonight. I don't leave till tomorrow. So I'll be around. But anybody have any questions?
You said something about the rapport thing. It's not just at work. Because, you so often.
Can you guys hear?
So often, or just in the grocery store, you got to make contact with people. That relationship starts all over the place.
Good point, and I'm actually more curious how this is going to look on video, but excellent point. I mean, and that's why I'm saying I did it on the airplane, right? Actually before the airplane with the mixed match socks. You just never know who that next referral source or who that's going to come. it could be the grocery store. That's right. And you find so what do you do? Oh, you know why that's interesting? Because I know I've got a friend who's actually looking for her mother, and I want to, you seem so nice. I'm going to, here, give me your card. I want to make sure that she contacts you. And I will tell you something right now. I can't tell you how many times I've got people call me, hey, Mike, you got any clients over in, wherever? I've got a mom or dad, or I got somebody there that's looking. They want to know a reputable place and want to know if you know something. And also this, if you do have mystery shoppers right now, I don't want to say a lot, but we do have quite a few times when our mystery shoppers are actually prospects as well. So don't think just because, that's a mystery shopper, I'm really not going to handle this very well, and just write it off. All right, because a lot of times they are. And then the second thing, if you are one of those that get mystery shopped and you write it off, shame on you, because your boss and boss's boss are going to be listening and be looking at that. That's your opportunity to shine. So even if you think it's a shopper, shine. Do well. Don't write it off. In closing, I was about a year and a half after my daughter passed away. I was on a plane, and it was a late flight, and I don't remember where I was going, but it's kind of where they dim the lights and all that kind of stuff after takeoff. And I'm sitting in the aisle seat, and I got a book opened, and I'm thinking I'm reading, and this is about an hour into the flight. And the gentleman that's right over here said, goes, how's that book? And I turned around and looked, and I was always, it's pretty good. Because I was just wondering, you haven't turned the page in about 20 minutes. I said, I didn't even know. I said, just kind of got a lot on my mind. And I looked around, and, people besides were asleep. It was quiet. The plane was quiet. People were asleep, and we struck up this conversation, and really just had a great conversation with this guy. And he just started, and it was more him talking than me. I was just kind of listening, but he was just sharing kind of his life story. One of those where, when your prospects come in, they want to share their life story. I'm going to tell you right now. I said, hey, there are times, so this is me, like diversing again. So remember where I just left off so you can bring me back. There are times when I've been at communities, and honestly, when I'm dealing with executives who are making decisions, as far as, the services that we provide, and they just keep putting it off, and I know that they need to know they could use it, it gets frustrating. Or sometimes they don't even respond or anything. It's like, oh, why am I even in this industry? It just ticks me off. And then I go to the community. And I don't know how, I've seen some salespeople that it's more of a nuisance to sit there and listen to these folks when they tell their story. But for the most, and those people shouldn't be in the industry. For the most, at least not in sales. For the most part, that is just the most wonderful blessing that anybody I think could have. And it just re-energizes me. He said, this is why I put up with executives' crap. And I say executives because I'm one too, I get it. And people put up with my crap. I said, but this is why I put up with it, because I come here and I get to see what people are doing, what you're getting to do to make a difference in people's lives, and to hear those stories. It's powerful. I love it. It energizes me. This is why I'm in the industry. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So so I'm on the plane with this guy, we're talking, and I'm getting to hear his story, and I could tell that the conversation's kind of like, dwindling down a little bit, and he says, we've shared each other's our names, and we've introduced ourselves formally at this point, and he goes, Mike, how old do you think I am? And I kind of looked at him, and I mean, he was an elderly guy, but man, he was in good shape. I mean, he was built pretty solid, kind of like myself. Oh, so now you laugh. Okay. Be serious and you laugh. My jokes, you don't laugh. I don't get it. But really good shape. And I said, well, I said, I'm not good at this, and I'm really not. These people that, at the fairs and carnivals, they can guess your age, and I don't know how they do it, but, or weight. I'm not good at that. And I kind of told him, I'm not good at this. I don't really want to offend you. He goes, no, just guess. I said, maybe 65, 67-ish. He goes, Mike, he goes, I'm 80 years old. And he started, you want me to answer that? I love it. I did that once. It wasn't good. It was a woman's phone, and I answered it, and it's her husband. Did not turn out well at all. And he said, and he starts sharing. He goes, he goes, I'm blessed. He goes, I'm fortunate. He goes, I'm blessed. He goes, and I'm also cursed. He goes, I've been blessed. He goes, I got to marry my high school sweetheart. He goes, but I also had to bury her. He goes, I'm blessed because I had kids, and I've lost one of them. Now, the thing is that he and I hadn't shared any of what was, I was in a funk. I was in a major, major funk in my life. But we hadn't shared any of that kind of stuff. He didn't know what was going on in my life. He did most of the talking. He said, I've made millions. He goes, and I've lost millions, and I've made it back. He goes, I've traveled the world. He goes, I don't have very many regrets. Because I've had a great, fantastic life. He said, I'm 80 years old, and the best is yet to come. And what I want to leave you with is that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you're doing, be passionate about what you're doing, love what you're doing. If you're not, if you don't love what you're doing, go find something you do. Life's too freaking short for one. But the people that we're dealing with deserve so much more than that. But know that no matter what you're doing, you're making a difference in people's lives. And no matter how good your life is right now, your best is yet to come. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure. God bless you.
I just finished the educational session with Mike Miller, and it was fantastic. Mike taught me some things I was doing wrong, taught me some things I didn't know, and I learned some things that are going to make our marketing program more effective moving forward. And it's going to make a big difference in our marketing and sales effort back at our retirement community. And as much as anything, I appreciated Mike's passion for his job, and I think that's something that helped renew some of my passion. And I'm excited to get back to the office and start implementing some of Mike's ideas.